Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to Weeb Podcast, episode number 37. As always, I'm Cam.
And I'm Jimmy.
And let's just jump right in. And welcome back, guys. And as you can see, we are in person.
Yes, we are.
We're doing it. And not only are we in person, we're also in a slightly different setup. It's
a little bit of a rearrangement going on. So.
Yeah, same room, same stuff. It's all just kind of redone. So, let us know in the comments what you guys think about it. If you're not a fan of it and you like the old way, we'll go back. It's just rearranging some tables and stuff. But since everything was rearranged for when Jimmy was gone anyways, and he came back, I figured, hey, we might as well try something new and see what people think. Let us know what you think about that down below. Before we get into today's episode, we're going to do something new. So as you guys know, I ask a question of the week every single time in the pinned comment down below. There will be one this week. I will decide what that is later. But last week we asked a big question because it kind of comes up a lot, and it's, should we be taking notes on each episode? So as a lot of you know, if you've been here for a long time, or even if you've been here for a short time, we typically do not take notes.
Yeah.
I think we started, like when we first started, we're like, yeah, let's take notes.
Yeah, I think I kept it going a little longer than you, but eventually I just dropped off on it.
Mine was like an episode. So,
yeah.
So what we did is we kind of did that, and I found, at least for myself, that by taking notes, I was paying too little attention to the actual episode.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, they like the kind of casualness to this. Even I know that on one of the, I think it was on the Kumo Desu subreddit when I posted the episode last week, someone commented being like, oh, are these the guys like who review the episode because they suck or something like that? Like they don't remember any of the key details and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I commented, I was like, hey, like, thanks. Like, thanks for the comment. Like, yeah, I know that we don't do this. And like I clarified because he said like we review the episodes or whatever, or like he said we review them. I was like, we do not review things. I was like, it's more of a first impressions for us. Like that's what we consider it. But I was like, thanks for the comment anyways. I get that. And he's like, oh shit. He's like, sorry. He's like, if I would have known it was like the original people posting it, I wouldn't have been such a dick. And I was like, hey, listen, like it's feedback. You didn't call anyone a virgin or anything like that. So you're better than most of the people on the internet.
That is true.
But that's kind of the opinion we wanted to know. So I'm actually going to do a new thing where we read some of the comments of the people who actually who commented, because we're obviously mentioned, we're always thankful for comments. We do read all the comments. We respond to as many as we can. If you're wondering why there's a comment we haven't responded to that you posted a lot of the times, especially when it comes to Kumo Desu stuff, like 30 people all do the same comment. So we'll respond to like 3, 4, 5 of them being, hey, thanks for this information. This is important, that kind of stuff. So if you notice that we haven't commented back on your comment, if you take a look through the comments, you'll probably find someone posted the same question. We probably answered one of those. Yeah. It's like a first come, first serve for the most part. But a lot of times if you have anything, anything more obscure you want to comment about, then that's like a trick, right? That's a trick to get the response. But yeah, so in the pinned comment, we asked if we should take more notes or if we should keep going with the casualness. One guy here, so we had Gundam Wing 95 said, I think the casual chat is fine for the most part. If you'd be taking notes, maybe just do it after you finish the episode. That way would probably be better than taking notes during the episode for your entertainment and enjoyment of the show. And then he said, also, if you do it afterwards, you could still skim through the episode if you notice important stuff missing. Like, for example, make a note, church leader doing X and Y, and then, let's shortly skim through that to see what we're missing for like the name of the church leader and stuff like that.
Right.
So I feel like for the most part, that's probably the comment that I would like agree with most.
Yeah.
And you will find that this week I did in fact take notes for just Kumo Desu. But that's relatively how I did it for that point. The next person says, I think you should, I think notes are good for certain anime. So this is X Cassius Fortis. They said, I lean towards Kumo Desu and Tokyo Revengers because they have more complicated storylines. I don't think every anime you cover needs them, and I would hate for you to feel like the anime you watch for the podcast is homework. And I think that's a pretty accurate comment because I would not take notes at like My Hero episode, for instance.
Yeah.
I'm not. Bakugo used right fist on this guy here and then quickly followed up with a leg kick.
I mean, maybe for like the Class B names, just to remember those. But
yeah, but even that. I know someone in these comments does mention names and they call me out specifically. The next person is Addy and they respond with definitely take notes. So, that's not an opposite opinion to the ones we've seen so far, but, that's just a straight up you should take notes. And then the last person is Lars Nilsson, and they said, I prefer the casual chat, maybe write a few things down, and then in brackets he put names, Cammy, we'll feel a little called out there. And they said, after you finish the episode. So yeah, names are always a big one. We've mentioned that multiple times through the podcast, especially depending, some animes are easier than others because they have like easier names to remember, or very different names, right? Like how many anime where the same main character's name is like Yoshida do you have? Like throughout time, right? They get mixed up pretty fast. But in the most part, yeah, like if there's new anime we're starting, especially as we get farther and farther in, we're going to remember names a little bit better.
True.
But when we get to like weeks 1, week 2, week 3, I think in the future we'll take better notes when it comes to the names at least.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to that. I used to just take general impressions, but I'd read through the notes later. It's like, this is useless.
Yeah, I think so what I did this week, and you'll see that when we get to the first thing up on the week for Kumo Desu, is that I mainly just took like notes as to where the story went. It's like I started like, oh, this started at Kumoko side, this happened, switch over to Shun side, this happened. Because a lot of times we come in and it's been the farthest, Kumoko's the farthest episode normally that we watch compared to when we record.
True.
So it's just, I need to keep track of like where the story goes and then we don't miss key details. Because if I'm like, oh, we started Kumoko's side, in my mind, I can remember the stuff that happened on her side. And then I'm like, okay, now we go to Shun's side. I remember the stuff that happened on his side. But when I have none of that written down, it's a little harder.
Yeah.
So, thanks for all the comments. It doesn't matter if they're positive, negative. All the ones on our YouTube channel are normally really positive anyways. It's normally when we post stuff like on Reddit and stuff where, you get some people in there, but
I mean, it happens.
Feedback is feedback. So as I said, if you guys have like this week, or we're going to come out with another weekly comment, it's going to be pinned down below. So if you guys have a response to that, put the response down and then we will read it out next week when we start off with the opening. I think, do you have anything else? Anything big happen this week?
Nothing that comes to mind. No.
No. Obviously, as always, if you guys are watching this, we ask if you like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff for the algorithm. Helps us out. We've been stalling a little bit for the past couple of weeks, but I think a lot of that might just be like the online format isn't for everybody. Yeah. It was like a big change for a lot of people. And like I think this is a really good anime season, so I definitely don't want to blame the anime season if we ever have times where like our views and stuff are lower, because I think this anime season has a lot of really cool stuff.
It does.
So I'm just going to blame COVID still, because I'm going to blame it on everything. But luckily now, at least for the meantime, we're allowed to record in person again. Who knows how long it'll stay that way. As I mentioned, we're in Canada and in Ontario, which I think right now in the world is still known for some of the worst, like not the worst cases and stuff like that, but it has like the most strict rules.
Yeah.
Like people are thinking it's insane when they're from other countries, but now we're finally all getting vaccinated and stuff like that. So It's going well now. So hopefully there will not be any fourth wave, and we'll be able to keep this going.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, but without any further ado, let's crack open our non-sponsored energy drinks. Cheers. The first traditional sip of the episode. I don't want to throw any sponsors out here that we're not being paid for, but if you guys have not tried the Rain Orange Dreamsicle, damn, that's probably the world's best energy drink. Shout out to Rain, you want to throw me some money? You do that. But for today, we will be starting out with, of course, we have Kumo Desu, episode number 19.
This isn't my fault, is it?
So, as we normally mentioned, I did a trick this week, though, and I actually did watch Kumo Desu last night. So it kind of sucks, like people even in those comments, they mention kind of the difficulty finding that line between like, almost like enjoyment and like homework in a sense.
Yeah.
And thinking about like not being able to watch the anime right away that I want to see, because I'm like, oh, I should save it because that'll make it easier for the podcast. But realistically, there's so much anime in between those days. Like Saturday night, you have like 4 or 5 of the things on our list, plus a couple extras we don't talk about weekly.
True.
So I was like, it wasn't really a big deal to push Kumo Desu off by a few days. Plus, I do find it helps for the podcast, and also I did take notes. So that's also a double help for the podcast.
It does help. I don't think I could hold off. I end up always watching it before I'm even home on Friday.
The first 2 things I watch, normally, so I'd watch Kumo Desu every Friday, which, didn't do this week. But typically after that, on Saturday, I always only watch 2 anime episodes on Saturday night. And they're always My Hero Academia, and then the Welcome to the Demon Academy, Haruma-kun or whatever. We don't talk about that one, but I've been keeping up on it, and those are like the 2 I watch because you go through different like moods when you're watching anime, and if you want like a chill night, My Hero, and that's a good choice.
Yeah.
Because like shit like Vivy and like the 86, like they're too emotional. Sometimes I just want to chill.
Yeah, even Tokyo Revengers, like I'm like, I want to watch this now, but I don't know if I can do this right before I go to bed. Yeah,
like I know a lot of people like last season, I haven't watched yet, and now I probably will because it's a good binge time. There was the Wonder Egg Priority, which people mention like you have to be in like a frame of mind to watch that, right? Like
that show was a freaking ride.
I don't think anything on our list is quite that level, but even like for sometimes I got to be in the right mood to watch a happy show, a shonen, a romantic show, a dark show. And Saturday night when it's like that, I'm just finished playing some games. I only have time for like 2 anime episodes. I'm like, you know what? It's just going to be 2 relatively happy ones. I mean, My Hero might not always be that way, but it currently is. But Kumo, I still find a happy one. Like even when there's like darker episodes, it never feels that dark. Because like
Kumoko does a good job of cutting through the darkness with Kumoko's attitude.
Yeah, because like nothing dark really happens to Kumoko because of her perspective on it. Never seems that dark. Yeah. But when you go to the human side, it does.
Yeah, I mean, Kumoko loses her body. She's just like, well, guess I got decapitated again. It's like...
Yeah. So we'll start into this episode. So, start with my great notes. So we do start with Kumoko in this episode. We start with her side, and it's mainly just her dealing with the annoyance of the town folk. So they've basically like built her like a little shrine. We see someone selling Kumoko dolls, which the best part about that is that the dolls are the Kumoko perspective we see.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And then we see her being drawn by someone, and she's like posing. She's like, oh, make sure you get this like vivacious body kind of thing. So very, once again, as we just mentioned, very lighthearted, very funny. There's not really anything big there. I think the only thing that I really took away here, and I wrote this down in a note, is that there is a slight hint at Kumoko's past life when we see the reflection in her eye, and it did look like Wakaba. I know that the show is like people still. I don't know light novel if they've already revealed that it is her. I think that it's still one of those things that it's just never mentioned.
Yeah, I don't think they ever fully confirm it. I think they hint at it, but this series is really well known for red herrings at this point. So.
Yeah, but I mean, like this is something she's deliberately thinking about how like she's not good at communicating with these town folk, and she mentions like, hey, I was never good at communicating with people, and she like in her like reflection of the eye, you see like the girl with the dark hair at the desk in the room, and it very much looks like Wakaba. I'm sure that I could like freeze frame that, look where the desk is, go back to the first episode, compare it with where that desk was in it, like. Or I guess the first episode, or even when I don't think they're inside the class when they do the flashback, but
most of the flashbacks are when they're out in the field or like on a day trip or something like that. So
yeah, in general, it doesn't mean very much, but it's a little bit of a hint still. Like obviously, most people, there's going to be like a 99 percentile of people believe that Kumoko is Wakaba, just with what we've been given, But in case you didn't, that just adds a little extra there. But yeah, I think other than that, there wasn't anything big from like Kumoko's first part there.
Not really, no.
It was really just her dealing with the townsfolk, just seeing how they love her. They still treat her like the divine beast. They're making like merch of her. They're drawing her. They respect her. They're like, hold my baby, please, spider. Like, no, thank you. Like fucking fools. But
can you imagine growing up and your mom telling you, yeah, I handed you to a spider monster at one point? It's like, I'm sorry, what?
If I was a kid, I wouldn't mind because like kids are fearless. Like I didn't fear bugs when I was a child, but if I grew up as like an adult, my mom told me that, I'd be like, yeah, fuck you, mom. Like I'm calling child services now.
Mom, what do you mean you handed me to a giant June bug when I was 3 years old?
Yeah, no, I would just die. But yeah, nothing big there. It's just a little bit of light comedy to start the episode off, a little bit of light humor. After that, we swap over to the human side entering the elf village. Yeah. So we have the Oda. Is it Oka? Oka Sensei?
Oka Sensei, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I got the name.
Yeah, she opens up the hidden path.
She shows them like the path with the teleportation circle. They go in. The elves come in. They're like, "Hey, fuck you guys. No humans allowed." And Oka Sensei's like, "No. Like they're cool. They're with me." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't give a shit. Like no humans allowed." It's kind of funny that they don't even know who she is. They're like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm like this. This is my name." I'm like, "Shouldn't they know who you are? You're literally the daughter of the chief." But I guess she's not been there for a while.
Yeah, she hasn't been there for a while because she's been attending school, right?
Yeah, I guess. But you still think they'd know. Like, she couldn't have changed that much since they last saw her being an elf.
Maybe she doesn't have the clout she thinks she does.
Maybe. You think of it like a village chief in a sense is like the king of the village. That would make her like a princess, so normally people know them, but we don't know the structural society of how the elves work. So.
Yeah, for all we know, like, chief is just like a managerial job. No one really cares.
Yeah, I guess like, I don't know like the daughter of the mayor of our town, so I guess something like that. But clearly that's kind of fixed really quickly when someone comes in and be like, no, they're cool. And it is, of course, Potimas, her father. Yeah. Who we did see decapitated.
Yeah, and I love his reaction. It's like, oh, there's more than one way to ward against death. It's like,
We also literally mentioned last episode, we were talking about him. We're like, well, he's not coming back because he's dead and stuff. Because we were talking about like seeing in the flashback. We're like, yeah, we know what happens to you in the future, bud. Like, you're fucked. But, clearly he wasn't fucked, or this is really sus.
Yeah, because we know Kumoko has apparently gone through some pretty great lengths to survive. Mm-hmm. Does this guy have that same type of resource?
I mean, it's possible, or like it wasn't really. Maybe it was like a body double or something. Like you never know. Like there could be many. Like he's so vague about it, there could be anything. He could have just set up a body double, use some sort of magic to make them look like him, like some sort of elven, illusion magic or something. Like, and it could have just been like his left hand man went into like all the social appearances as him. Or maybe even like he has some sort of magic that lets him like take over someone's body, use it when he's at distances, but he always kind of chills in the village. Who knows? There's many ways other than just like him getting up, putting his head back on, and like walking out or doing something too tricksy. But there is also the possibility that this isn't him, right? Yeah. Not like we don't have any proof or hints of that, but there's always the possibility that like this isn't him. This is some demon in the Demon Lord army now taking over his body or something, and helping them out by posing in the elf village.
Yeah, I can't imagine pretending to be someone else is that hard for a demon. So
yeah, especially not if the body's fresh. For all we know, that they freaking hop in their mind and still have their memories and shit. Like it's it's definitely possible, and we just weren't given enough information about that yet. So I'm going to leave some theories on the table there for, what could happen. He could be just Potimus. He could be not Potimus. Who can say? The big part of the elves, though, is definitely meeting with the other reincarnations.
Yeah, it was kind of a casual reintroduction to them. They're just like, oh, hey, everyone, come over and talk to our friends who just showed up.
I think the reason it felt so casual is because every reincarnation we've met so far has felt like important in like a sense.
Yeah.
Even in the ones in the class, like Shun obviously, becomes the hero. His brother was the hero. Hugo ended up becoming the villain. The one girl ended up becoming the saint. Like everybody, all the reincarnations we met, like Faye became a dragon. Kumoko is obviously, Kumoko.
Yeah.
All the reincarnations we met have had like big importance, or at least even like, I guess Katya is like the least, but even her, she's still like a side character with importance.
Yeah, and even then, she's kind of a unique case because she's the one who gender swapped out of the entire crew. So.
Yeah, so like that, it's just each one has felt so important now, and now just quickly being introduced to like 13 new ones really fast, but these ones don't have any importance, right? They're just kind of there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird, but a lot of it too is like it's fun for us to imagine like the characters meeting it after so long, but since we don't know any of these characters anyways, they don't necessarily mean anything to us.
True.
We're not like, oh man, which one's this going to be out of the class, because we don't know any of the original class members. Like we've only known the ones we've seen in the flashback, which other than like we've seen a little bit of Wakaba. We saw obviously we saw Faye and her like 2 girlfriends that she was with, and we meet them in this one. We saw Spooky, which we know who that is now. We saw the teacher, and then we saw Shun's like other friend, like because they're like a 3-person friend group. And even in this, I think his name's Kyoya, if I have my note written down here, because Shun's still wondering like where he is. Because I think after like Shun's talking with them, being like, "Oh, have you heard from this?" And they're like, "No." Like, and he's like, "Oh, maybe these 2, because you guys were like traveling adventures." And they're like, "No, still like we haven't heard anything from any other reincarnations." And then like Shun goes outside and he's like, "Oh, Kyoya, where are you?" kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those are like the only ones we were even introduced to in the flashback. So all these other ones, they mean fucking nothing to us. Like, let's be honest. I know that they're obviously going off about how they were kidnapped as children, which we know from seeing Kumoko's side and hearing about all these missing children through elves.
Some of them were kidnapped. Some of them were bought.
Yeah, sold by their parents.
Like, Jesus.
So they're kind of mad at the elves. They're like, "Oh, fucking sensei's not welcome here," and we can kind of see why to an extent.
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, they haven't clearly been treating them bad. They're just like working the fields and like they're just kind of living their own lives in this area. They get deliveries from the elves and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, it looks a little bit like a work camp, which has some negative connotations to it. But
yeah, but I mean, like we've seen worse, right? Like they didn't end up growing up in a cave as a spider and have to fight to the death every single day.
I mean, that is true. Yes.
So it could be worse. But they're clearly not happy because some of them probably had like we don't know how young all of them were when they were taken, but we do know that all of them had their full like adult mind when they were taken, right? So they knew what was going on around them. So they were born, they know their family, that kind of stuff, and then they were taken from them. It's not like realistically, if elves stole like a 2-year-old baby, that baby would grow up to not know about his original family or that they were taken at all.
Yeah,
but these people do. So I guess that adds an extra little bit of hurt.
True.
We see again that Shun kind of goes over the list. They even show it, I think, on one of like the in between scenes, like the list of the reincarnations and like who's missing. They mentioned the 4 dead ones again, or at least like so they think. They even question the teacher a little bit in this episode.
Yeah, they definitely seem to trust her a little bit less at this point, which I'm glad to see.
Yeah, I mean, like I still don't think that I kind of was Shun in the sense where he doesn't seem to think that she's actually like actively trying to fuck them over, do wrong things. I don't think she is either. I definitely think that she's keeping secrets from them.
Oh God, yeah.
Like we still don't know if she actually believes someone like Wakaba is dead, or if she knows about Wakaba possibly being Kumoko, or if she knows about these other reincarnations being on the demon side, and she'd prefer to tell the students they're dead. Like if she's lying to them out of something that she believes to be good, or if she's just point blank lying to them because she's like, "I fuck you guys."
Yeah, because she never declared anything about Spooky, right? She never declared if she was alive or dead.
Yeah, we haven't heard. She mentioned some of the other people. I don't remember because I think Spooky's name is like Negashi or something along those lines. And in this one, her name's Sophia. We were guessing at that last week. We had a lot of nice comments about her name being Sophia. Pretty close, but yeah, what did I have next here? That's pretty much it though. He's just they're chilling. They're talking about stuff. We do see like the 2 other ones were adventurers, so they weren't taking as kids.
No, they were recent acquisitions, apparently.
Yeah, so I mean that's a little more interesting. Like, why were they not taking the kids? Could they not be found? Were they like 2 remote areas or something like that? Or
yeah, because the question is, how do they track down the reincarnations en masse?
Yeah, I feel like you wouldn't really be able to. I'd feel like you'd have to go places with someone who has appraisal and literally look for this skill, right?
Just go around and it's like, hey, can I see your newborn baby? I just want to check something.
Yeah, let me take a quick look at that baby there. Oh, no N1 equals % skill. Yeah, you're cool. Continue on your way.
Yeah. I mean, I guess theoretically they were all born at the exact same time, so you just have to find.
Yeah,
kids
you
that
know,
were
I look at
born.
it like, did you ever watch like the Umbrella Academy?
A little bit, yeah.
Because there was like the 7 or 8 kids, wherever they were all born at that one day from people who weren't even pregnant and they all had powers.
Yeah.
And the one guy found most of them just by looking at people who gave birth that day under special circumstances.
Yeah.
But those were special circumstances. This, you'd literally have to try and find out everybody who gave birth on that day.
That
Which,
is true,
if you know anything about the real world and you look on average how many babies are born per day, that's a lot of work.
Maybe there's a lot less people in this world.
I assume there is, but you know they never really give us the full scale of fantasy worlds.
True.
But a lot of this is just kind of them chilling, talking to the reincarnations. They're not learning too much. We definitely, the end of the little part with Shun there is just him reflecting on where his like friend Kyoya is, like where he could be, that kind of thing. Because
Yeah.
he wasn't in the list of the dead people that even the sensei told them about. So it's
No, he's just one of the people that are declared missing. So
yeah. So I mean, if I had to take a shot in the dark, the theory in the dark here, he's probably going to be on the Demon Lord side.
yeah, it might be that you didn't declare the monsters or the demon lords army people as dead. It was just monsters
Yeah.
or people she assumed would just died due
Yeah,
to
it's
circumstance.
very realistic that she actually thinks Wakaba was reincarnated as Kumoko but then died, right?
Right.
Because even people at this point, we know people think the Nightmare of the Labyrinth is gone.
Sure.
So it's very possible she knows that her guess was that was who Kumiko was, or who Wakaba was. But at this point, she thinks that monster's dead. Thus, she thinks Wakaba's dead. So we don't know how much she's lying about yet. I'm sure the next episode is going to have more from like the human perspective on that side, because I believe that's the last we see from the human side in this episode.
Yeah.
I checked my notes, and that is in fact the last thing we see from the human side in this episode.
That would be the end of it.
So next episode, obviously, we're gonna have to learn. I think we're gonna have to learn more about the elves. I think even in the Kumiko side, we're gonna see more about how maybe Potimas found out about the reincarnations to begin with.
Yeah. Because his only knowledge of it was that Ariel wasn't. Kumiko was interested in one particular baby. He thinks Ariel is interested in Kumiko.
Yeah. The direct next part is that Potimas comes. We go to Sophia's house. So we're then taken into Sophia's house where we see her listening to her father's struggles, right? He's struggling a lot in life because of the whole Kumiko situation. I believe even the people from the fort are now demanding that he hands over Kumiko.
Yeah, the next country over is demanding that they ship the spider over.
Because she destroyed the fort, and he's like, we don't have fucking possession of this monster. He's like, it's not mine to give.
She wrecked your fort. What do you think we can do to ship her over?
Yeah, so he's like, his life's just struggling, right? He's having a hard time. Sophia, obviously having an adult mind, is like, that sucks for him, bro. Like, and she's still thinking back on the spider and being like, man, that spider's like scary. Like, what's going on with this thing? And then obviously they get a visitor, and the visitor is past Potimas.
Yeah.
And he starts talking to them about the spider still a little bit, and he's like, oh, I just stopped by because I heard about this cool divine beast spider thingy. And then he goes over, he looks at Sophia a bit, and he's like, yeah, cute baby. And then he starts like mumbling things about how like he basically goes on being like, it's incorrect. He thinks that Ariel has sent Kumiko, the Nightmare of the Labyrinth here, to watch over the baby because it's clearly a reincarnation. He mentions it being a reincarnation, and Spooky's like, why is this fucking dude looking at me so much? Like, why is he staring at me? He clearly meant like mumble something about reincarnations, and she didn't pick that up, which I found kind of funny.
I mean, we don't know what her senses are like.
Because
right?
he like said like reincarnations while he's talking. I thought she was gonna like pick that up, and be like, oh my god, he knows about us somehow. But yeah, so Potimas is like, Ariel must have sent this Nightmare of the Labyrinth to watch over this kid, just like how we have people like watching over her kind of thing, because she's a reincarnation. We clearly know that that's not true.
Yeah, Kumiko just kind of arbitrarily decided to protect her.
Yeah, Kumiko just happened to stumble upon her on the road before and saved her. It wasn't necessarily because like she did see the baby, but she very possible she would have stepped in to save the humans anyways without the baby.
Maybe.
Like she didn't save the baby because she knew she was a reincarnation. That's the important part. She's not like, hey, that's one of my classmates or that's a reincarnation, I gotta save him. She saw a baby, some people in trouble. She's like, yeah, I'll step in and help. Why not?
Yeah, just like I'll side with the side that has a baby.
Yeah, plus she gets to kill some bandits and get lots of EXP. So it was like a win-win kind of situation. I think that the next part then after that is, other than seeing Potimas kind of think about his plans with Ariel and that kind of stuff, we go back to Kumiko, and she senses the Demon Lord coming after her. So she senses it with her, like, I think it pops up saying wisdom on the screen, so it must be part of the wisdom skill line.
Yeah, because that's how she tagged and tracks her, right?
Yeah, so she pops up and it just quickly flashes to like Ariel running fast, and she's like, oh fuck, she's like, Ariel's coming for me again. She's like, wait a minute, she's like, that means no one's guarding my mother.
I love how that was her first reaction. It's like, I could go quick nip down and just kill mom real quick.
I mean, you know what? It kind of works out for her.
Kind of.
But yeah, I think the important thing is that she, even from the long distance, she checks the stats, I believe. And she sees, because she does that before she goes there. I'm
yeah,
pretty
she
sure.
can see that she's like really down on stats.
Yeah, it's like weakened Mother Pterodactyl or something. Like she's really fucked on stats. So
yeah,
she's like,
she has no bonuses anymore. She's just raw based.
I think
stats.
all of her stats were around 6,000. If I'm not incorrect, they were around that area.
Yeah, and then all of her stat bonuses had been reduced to 0. I don't think her skills were affected though.
Yeah, I don't know about that. She seemed to still have a lot of shit going on. But obviously,
Yeah.
Kumoko looks at this. She says, hey, the Demon Lord's coming here, so she's not going to be able to protect the mother. She's got weakened stats right now. She's like, even I can take her. So she quickly teleports right beside her. And then, she's like, hey, this will be an easy fight. But she kind of walked in on more than she thought she could handle. Because, all these traps are set up. She immediately walks into nets. She has nets coming at her from all different directions. She gets some of her legs cut off immediately. And, it's looking kind of dire. It's looking like she's about to get eaten. Because I think her head just gets completely cut off.
She got decapitated, and that's where she's like, oh, well, looks like I got decapitated again.
Yeah, she's like, I got decapitated again. She's like, you know what? I'm going to still put up a fight here, though. She's like, I'm going to go down screaming. I'm still going to take you out kind of thing, even with this. And that's right in time for her other Kumiko mines to sweep in and be like, hey, by the way, like, when we were eating all those stats, like, where do you think those were going? They're going right to you. And she's like, wait, what? And then her stats were fucking huge after that.
Yeah, she got a shonen anime last second power up right there. It was.
Yeah, I think she even mentioned it. She's but yeah, she gets a huge power up. They mentioned that, like, they were eating away at her soul, and soul is directly correlated to like skill or stats or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, stats and skills are tied to your soul.
So yeah, the amount that they stole away, they're just giving to Kumiko. So I think she's in like the upwards, like she's just below like 20,000 on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's like 16,000 for a lot of stats, which we know the mother's currently at 9,000, and she literally just laser beams the mom to death.
Yeah, she got a few skills off that. So.
Yeah, she literally just like it shows. I think it shows like the other ones almost like beside her, but I think that's just in her mind, like the vision.
Yeah.
And she just like purple laser beams right through the mother, completely destroyed. And she's like, aha, that was. She's like, that worked out for me. I'm trying to remember if there's anything specific I wrote here about this.
They do talk about how the body mind is gone.
Yeah, that was my next note. It said learns that body brain is gone.
Yeah, it's locked into the Demon Lord's mind now.
Well, it makes sense because the one scene we saw where Ariel had like a headache right after running to the mom.
Yeah.
So literally the body brain, Ariel walked to the body brain's like, hey, I'll separate and go to that one now. Now, obviously, we know that in theory, they do speculate. They say like, hey, I don't think body brain's ever coming back though. And she gives like the little salute for him. But realistically, if you think about it, if he's doing the same thing they were doing there, it would take a lot longer. But theoretically, he'd be doing the same thing, right? He'd be slowly stealing the Demon Lord stats to eventually bring back to Kumiko.
He would, because the Demon Lord couldn't do anything about it happening to the mother.
Yeah. And even in like when we saw her like dealing with it like she looked affected by it. She looked pissed off, which is why she's like, I'm gonna go kill that fucking spider. But it's not like her just being like, oh, they're like, my headache's gone. Like, fuck you, body brain thing. Like, you're done. So I mean that's probably gonna have a pretty big impact coming up. But I like the little salute towards body brain. Like, do you think that she can get like a different one though?
I mean, in theory, right? Because she got the parallel minds to deal with different aspects of her abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Body mind was meant to control her body while she was using the super speed thoughts.
Yeah.
Magic Mind 1 was to give her control. Magic Mind 2 is for more precision, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she might get more.
Yeah, I guess it's realistic possible. I think that a lot of it, I wanted to say that she's only gonna have like 4, but now since one's gone, like she could replace that one anyways. But you never know. Like as she levels up, she might get fucking hundreds, and like that's where I think one of the predictions was eventually she can like put those into other spiders and stuff and like use it to control them.
Because there was the Nightmare Vestiges, right? So,
yeah, and they were all leaving some. They had some sort of intelligence, or were leaving some
she
sort of
mass
images of it.
produces parallel minds.
And just has them go everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we have no idea exactly how powerful she's going to get. Obviously, we have speculations as to where she goes in, like, the Demon Lord's army. But we haven't yet seen as to why she joins the Demon Lord's army. Because at this point, we see Ariel pretty fucking mad. And we'll get into more about why, Ariel being more mad. Because I'm pretty sure that's where it ends. After learning Body Brain's gone, I think we go to the credits.
Yeah, there was an interaction between Ariel and a dragon, though.
Yeah, that's my PCS. That's my post-credit scene.
Yeah, okay.
I, of course, had to keep a note of that because there's always a post-credit scene. Yeah, so all I wrote is Ariel mad. Dragon shows up, suggests retirement. Maybe she kills Dragon? So, yeah, this dragon shows up and he's like, hey, like, fuck you. And she's like, hey, like, he's like, hey, you have like a deal. Or she's like, I have a deal with your kind. And she's like, oh, you have a deal with like the leader or whatever the hell it is of. She's like, not with me specifically. So it seems like she has some sort of deal with like the leader of the dragons or something.
Yeah, except for the dragon specifically said, he didn't specifically say not to oppose you.
Yeah.
He just said he wouldn't fight you.
Yeah, so, he's like, and then what he literally suggests retirement. he's like, listen, he's like, you're like the oldest of all, maybe like us. He's basically like, we should hang up our coats and give it to the younger generation. He almost like suggests that like Kumoko is the perfect one to like take over Ariel's place as like a Terratech like kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Ariel just gets pissed and just like laser like mouth laser beams him real fast.
Yeah, it wasn't even that. It almost looked like a Power World word kill or something like that. He just kind of dropped. It was like, oh.
Yeah, then like we show like a wider cut on the scene and he's just laying on the ground. I wrote kills question mark because I'm like, it might just be like he's temporarily stunned. He might just like immediately get up after and be like, like I'm good now. Stupid Ariel.
He might just be a little banged up, but I don't think she would have killed him outright just out of anger. But
yeah, because that could have repercussions. I'm sure even if she thinks she's more powerful than whoever this Dragon Lord thing is, probably still don't want to fuck with him.
Probably.
But that's about it for the episode, anyways. Any predictions for next week's episode?
We're definitely going to get a little more background on the elves, and I think we're going to find out why they reintroduced the reincarnations, because they referred to them as comrades. Mm-hmm. Does that mean we're going to get to see them join the fight against Hugo?
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen because that's too many people, like too many characters. I think it's possible that we have a lot of them die.
Yeah,
because it sounds like what's gonna happen is because at one point Oka Sensei mentions like the barrier, right? And she mentions that there's a barrier to this place. And
it is going down, no doubt.
Yeah, they're like, it can't be broken. She's like, just because it hasn't been broken yet doesn't mean they can't break it. She's like, everybody knows about this barrier, so if they're coming to attack us anyways, they must think they have a way to deal with the barrier. So if anything, I think there might be an attack on the elf village while they're there.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have a lot of these reincarnations fight with the elves during this attack, and we're probably going to see a lot of them die.
Yeah, they're here as cannon fodder. They're going to die, and they're going to act as a booster for Shun's motivation. So.
Yeah, because we're getting close, right? This is was this 18 or 19? This was 19.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the end. So the finale of this is probably going to be whatever happens with Kumoko. Like maybe Kumoko's fighting, like not fighting, but Kumoko's encounter with the Demon Lord finally is like the end of her story in this, and maybe seeing how she's going to end up being on her side.
Yeah, like we might get to see her go to her next form. This is like an end of season scene.
Yeah, that might be like one of the last things or like a post credit to the last episode.
Because she got a couple levels off killing Mom too. She's like level somewhere between 24 and 29.
Yeah. And so I think that her finale part is going to be her facing off with Ariel. Obviously, we know neither of them are going to die from it. It might end up just being like, hey, how do they end up joining forces in the future? And I think the human side is definitely going to be, Hugo. I originally thought that maybe the finale for Shun's side was going to be defeating Spooky, since she's in this part a lot, like Sophia.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure. I think that his will just probably be beating Hugo. I think Sophia will get away and go back to the Demon Lord's army, but I think Hugo's fucked.
Yeah, I think Sophia's too tied to Kumoko's side of things. Mm-hmm. Hugo's really just Shun. So
yeah, I think what's going to happen is they're going to invade. They're going to break the barrier. They're going to come in. We're going to have a lot of the reincarnations die. Yeah. Possibly one of the main crew on Shun's side. Like maybe like the blonde guy who was with his brother from before, or maybe Katya or something, like who knows. Someone like that die. We're gonna have a lot of the regular reincarnations die just for like a hey, now Shun's angry because so many of his people are died that like we don't really care about. And then we'll probably have him defeating Hugo, and that'll be like the end of the human side of this. And that obviously still leaves a lot more. He's still got to face the whole demon army and that kind of stuff. But at least right now, Hugo will be done for. Those are the predictions for the end of the season. But as we know, Kumo Desu can really kind of fuck with the system.
Yeah. I'd like to just see Kumoko meet with the human side at this point.
Yeah, I think we're quite a way away from that.
I can see her being the one to break the barrier.
The one question I have about this, and people with the light novel probably know, it seems like Kumoko can understand English or whatever language they're speaking, because they say something and then she makes reference almost to what they said. I can't think of an exact situation, but like if you look back at
the little old lady said, like, isn't the weather nice today? And she just basically said, nobody cares.
Yeah, it's possible that she could respond with nobody cares to whatever the lady said, but it seems like she's understanding these people. Now, obviously, she's not able to speak this language, but
I wouldn't be shocked if something like Ruler of Wisdom gave you some sort of language.
Comprehend languages, basically. Yeah, I wouldn't be that shocked either. But I wonder how long it is until Kumoko can speak.
Well, I think this was in a comment at one point, but somebody mentioned that she doesn't have vocal cords to talk with.
But how long till she speaks with telepathy?
How long till she just turns into a human form and gets vocal cords?
I guess, yeah. If she goes into it, even like the Arachne form, she'll probably have vocal cords. Probably be able to speak. So I do think that we'll probably see that either in like a post-credit scene for the last, or like right before the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Her going into like her next form, because that way they don't have to worry about all the promotional art for season 1 and the opening and that kind of stuff with like the old Kumoko form. We'll be able to start off season 2 with new opening showing the new form and that kind of stuff without spoiling people.
Yeah, because if they add any type of humanoid elements to Kumoko, they'd have to completely redo their animations.
Yeah, so that's why I think that we're going to be waiting until season 2 for that. But that's our predictions. If you guys have any thoughts, theories, comments, anything like that for Kumo Desu, leave them down below. And as always, if we got anything wrong in this or you want to make any corrections, leave that down below too, and we'll mention them next week how we fucked up. The big one for this last week, actually, I think we were pretty good. I think a lot of it was just names. So
yeah, names are always a big one.
We were guessing the name of the pontiff or like that, the name of the religious faction. I think his name was Dustin. I should probably double check that I'm right about that, but I think I'm right about that.
If your pope is named Dustin, you know it's an evil organization.
And then obviously the big one other than that was we still could not get Sophia's name right. We're like, what's like a vampire like name? Alice? Like, that sounds.
We went with some like really, really generic ones. Just
I think for the most part, the only things we really got wrong last week were just the names. So that's good. But anything we got wrong in this episode, leave it down below and we'll mention that next week. And other than that, we will be talking about episode number 20 coming next week. Next up on the list is, of course, My Hero Academia, episode number 97.
Early bird.
Okay, so discussion. We've had this once with Vivi, and now finally it's happened to My Hero. They broke our formula, right?
Yeah, one episode arc.
We had 2 episode arcs, and that's what we knew, and that's what we trusted. And then, of course, not only were we right in most of the sense of the show fucking just loves jacking Bakugo off too much, they're like, they loved him jacking him off so much, like, no, 1 episode. Like, Bakugo barely needs help. You know, like, I think the big point of this is we kind of predicted this. We said there was like 2 outcomes, right? Bakugo 1v4s and wins. That's what we said. Or Bakugo grows by like learning to accept help, and he works with the teammates, and he wins.
Yeah,
those were our 2 outcomes. And he did one of them, and I mean, it made more sense, right? We see Deku growing all the time. We know that Bakugo is already probably like the best fighter in the entire class, if not like the entire like school currently. Like when it comes to pure combat, the only thing he's really lacking is his attitude for the most part, and that attitude gets in the way a lot of times with working with others, which is pretty important as a hero. Most heroes always have to work with others at certain times. So in this, what way can they make Bakugo grow? By working with others. We see immediately he goes in. A lot of it's like revealed as the episode goes on. Like the conversation you have with them is like a little bit at a time, right?
Yeah, it starts with them basically going, "Are you insane?" and then it just cuts into the fight.
Yeah, exactly. And then we see the next part is them being like "Hey, like we'll like do teamwork." He's like, "If you guys need to be saved, I'll save you," kind of thing. And then we see like most of the episode go on, and then at the very end, he's like, and then it cuts to the next part, and he's like, "And if I need to be saved, you'll save me." Right? Because that's like we could see Bakugo being like, "Hey, if you need to be saved, I'll save you." Even though he's always aggressive, he's still the hero and he still saves people all the time. So that's not a surprise that he would save his teammates, even if he's going to be like do it kind of begrudgingly. The bigger surprise is that he's like, "Hey, if I need to be saved, you guys save me." That's him directly saying that it's possible he's going to need to be saved. So he's thinking realistic. Like, yeah, he's powerful, but he's not 1v4 powerful. Yeah. And that, it's B, him also asking for help in a sense, which, not something we see from Bakugo too often.
Yeah, because, I mean, we saw a little bit of this in a previous arc with the provisional license testing, with the Kaminari Kirishima, like with the guy with the flesh prison.
Yeah. But to be fair, those guys are also friends. Like, Bakugo's best friend in the show is Kirishima. So, like, it's one thing to, even though, like, we always see him still yell at him and that kind of stuff, they're, like, at least friends in the sense where Kirishima just kind of laughs it off. Like, he never takes, like, offense to Bakugo being a dick, because that's, like, how it is. So it makes more sense for Bakugo to be able to slightly work with people when they're his friends. But he doesn't have any direct, like, friendly connections to any of these people. Yeah. Like, he just keeps calling Jiro ears.
Yeah, I mean, he worked with Jiro a little bit during the festival arc, though. So, he was in a band and obviously practiced with her, so... There is some connection there.
Well, they even mentioned in this directly. They're like, "Hey, like I think that being a drummer helped Bakugo. The festival is good for teamwork, and being a drummer that means you're dictating the beat the most part. True. And Bakugo is dictating the beat in this entire fight.
Plus, it's also just a healthy way to work out some of that aggression. So.
That's true. Yeah, it's pretty hype role in the music scene too.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of this was pretty straightforward. It was a fighting episode. So as we see, it's Bakugo, Jiro, fucking Tape Boy, Sarah, and what the hell? Who was the other person? Oh, and the Sugar Rush.
Yeah, I only know him by Sugar Rush. I never remember his actual name.
His actual name doesn't matter. Let's just get that out of the way. And they are versus the Mantis guy who can make blades go anywhere.
Jack Mantis, I think his name is.
Yep. They're versus weird lizardy girl who can take away all of her body parts and do weird things with them.
She's able to separate her body into 50 pieces.
It's supposed to be like a lizard, how it can like remove its tail and then like its tail grows back, but a lizard can't remove its tail into 50 pieces and move them all individually. So do with that
I
information
mean,
what you
can
will.
you think of a better name for that quirk?
No, but I mean, like, it didn't seem that cool of a quirk. I was expecting something dope. They're like, oh, like she's like the star,
Well, yeah, she's one of the people who got in through recommendation.
Yeah, tell me how she destroyed all the machines using those little body parts.
How did Invisible Girl do it?
By being invisible, I don't know. But in general, though, she's there, and then who else are we missing? We have
Glue Pod.
yeah, we glue dumbass, and I'm missing one person.
And the welder.
Oh my god, yeah, the fuck. Okay, if they think their team stood a chance against Bakugo, the big point here, and where we're getting the title from, is they realize they're like, hey, we're fucked. They're like, listen here. They're like, if they attack us first, like we're fucked. They're like, and then she even says at the very beginning of their fight, she's like, the early bird gets the worm, reference to the title. Yeah. But they think that they're the early birds, but they're really not. Like the Bakugo, their plan's already fully set in motion.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was to cause Bakugo to act on his own, take him down, then pick everyone else off.
Yeah, and Bakugo didn't do that. They 100% just got fucked because they were basing their entire strategy on who Bakugo was, not who he is. Even the teacher, even Vlad, as he's commenting, is like, fuck. He's like, oh, no. And I think the best part of the entire episode is the stupid douchey guy from the class.
It's like having a meltdown.
Not only is he having like an emotional crisis, like his whole life has changed. He's like, how is Bakugo changing? He's like, how is he becoming a better person? And then at the end, you even see him act a little nicer. Like he's like, oh wait, if Bakugo can do it, I have to do it too. Because that's what he starts like acting slightly nicer. And I'm like, yeah, nice try, guy. But I think that was my favorite part of the episode, was just him having like just a full character breakdown as like learning that Bakugo learned how to play with others.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the Jiro obviously very, very good at scouting. So the girl breaks up her body into gajillion pieces and makes them wiggle all over the place. That way it's hard for Jiro to track them. Yeah. I was expecting a new move from Jiro, but really all we got is her saying like, no, if I focus really hard, I can find out who the real people are.
We got to see her use the heartbeat sound again.
Yeah, which is always cool.
Which looked like it got upgraded.
Yeah, maybe.
It looked like it hit harder.
Yeah, maybe. Honestly, I think that Sero was probably like not obviously the MVP was Bakugo, but Sero's play by attaching using tape his grenade to her body piece, so when it comes back to her, it explodes. That was pretty fucking tight,
Oh god, yeah.
That was a baller move. I mean, literally, it almost required nothing by him. A guy with scotch tape could have done the same thing, but I guess you could argue that.
I mean, his situational awareness and the analysis of his enemy was really on point.
Yeah, right. So he realizes like, hey, yeah, like she doesn't necessarily have to. It's not like she separates her body and then they all come back. A lot of the times the pieces just get like destroyed and then she just makes new ones on her body. But he realized that if enough of them are like can't come back, then if enough of them are destroyed or like that, she has to bring back the other ones instead of making new ones. She can only use her power so much. Yeah,
it's like Mo. It's a finite resource. She can't just keep regenerating.
Yeah, so he figures what's going to happen eventually is she's going to have to start pulling back pieces instead of making new ones. So he literally attaches one of the Bakugo grenades to a piece of her body. So she pulls it back, gets exploded. He goes up, captures her. Jiro captures. Who does she capture?
The welder.
She captures the welder after heart beating his face off. We even have fucking Sugar Rush getting a cap on. I'm assuming it was glue. It must have been. I think each one of them technically gets a capture. They like.
Yeah, somebody got. I think was it Sarah? Was it Sarah who got Jack Mantis?
I feel like Sarah had to have been the girl after getting the grenade, or did Bakugo go up and punch her after she got exploded?
I think Bakugo went and finished her off after the detonation.
Okay, that I feel like I remember Bakugo giving her a big flash bomb punch because it got really bright when he jumped up.
Yeah, I guess Sugar Rush and Jiro were working together.
I mean, they were all working together really well.
True.
But I feel like each of them technically, like you get to see them actually like wrap people up and stuff like that. Like each of them individually get the capture, and then we see Vlad just getting his mind blown, being like, because I think Bakugo says like the way like to show that I'm the best is by getting a 4-0, no injuries.
Yeah.
And then even then, like when Bakugo goes out and he's getting greeted by All Might points out like you got not only did you get a 4-0 with no injuries, you kept like damage to the absolutely minimum too, like the property damage, because you're a hero. You don't want to go destroying buildings and shit. And he's like, I'm proud of you, Bakugo. And Bakugo's like, like, fuck off, man. Like, I don't even care. And he like walks away, and Deku goes up to say like, oh, good job. And he's like, move out of my way. And Deku's like, I'm not even in your way.
Yeah.
And then so like the big shock there was that it was only a 1-episode arc. But as we mentioned, the show loves Bakugo. So we got to show that he's still the best.
I mean, we got to see Bakugo get into a little bit of trouble when the one guy welded him in place.
That's true, yeah. But then, I mean, that's where Sugar Rush came out.
I know.
I'm like, that's fucked, dude. Like, did you just weld his skin to metal? Like,
yeah, it's bonded at the molecular level.
Yeah, how does he get that off? Because even for the rest of the fight, he had like the pieces of pole in his back.
I don't know if it wears off in time or
if the welder guy has to unweld it. I'm sure it just wears off like most people's.
I don't know, because do you remember back in like the training camp arc?
No.
Okay, well, when he and Mobile were about to get smashed by Nobu and it started walking away, he welded a tracker to it.
Oh.
And that's how they track the Nomus.
Oh.
So it obviously lasts a little bit of time.
Yeah, I'm sure that, like, it's the My Hero, the quirks, some of the quirks, if you think about it, they're kind of fucked. So they always make some sort of thing. Be like, oh, it's not that messed up. Like, it'll wear off. Like,
the one girl literally choked the guy out by growing mushrooms in his lungs.
Yeah,
Like,
that's messed up. Yeah. I think the only other big thing, obviously, at the end of the episode, we have a lot of setup for the next fight. So there's a lot still about Shinzo and like what he's able to do. The one team trying to plan, being like, hey, listen, like the current matchup we're against is kind of like the last one. Like their whole team kind of focuses on their combat specialist Deku, and the rest of them are kind of support. So they're like, we kind of need to do what the last team did, but good.
we need to not fuck up.
Yeah, it's like the same sense though. We need to go after Deku first. If we take him out, their entire team fails.
Yeah.
And then we see, I don't know why the fuck Deku had to make a superhero entrance here. We see their entire team lined up, talking, being like, how are we gonna do this? Like, oh, like they're really good, and like, we're not as good. And then fucking Deku just hops over something, superhero land, and be like, they're gonna go after me.
Yeah, he specifically jumps over. I think he's like, oh, I'll be bait.
He's like, yeah, let me handle this, guys. I'm Deku. Yeah, he feels real tough now because he has to show Bakugo that he's just as good as him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, part of it is like he had some trouble with his quirk because it was self-activating. He wasn't sure about it.
Yeah, but now it's feeling good, right? He's not noticing anything. It's feeling good. Obviously, we know something's going to happen still with the him and Shinzo matchup.
Yeah.
Even Shinzo, they mentioned on the other side, like one of our big advantages is that we have 5 people. And Shinzo's like, yeah, but Deku has broken out of my quirk once. So, who knows kind of situation.
True.
And that's a lot of the lead up for the next episode. So, as I said, I think we're getting at least 3 episodes in this arc.
They're gonna drag it.
The
out.
sad part is like I want to win for Deku, where it's like he wins just as well as Bakugo does in like a sense. So they're still like rivals, but it's not possible. They can't make this entertaining with having him win just as well as them because it can't be as fast, it can't be as decisive, or else it's not entertaining again. And then it also like it can't be with like no property damage, no injuries, like. It's just not going to be as decisive as Bakugo's. I'm sure that like it's still possible, but even on the Class B guy even mentions like it's impossible for him to win now, right?
Yeah.
But he's trying to be positive about it. He's like, it doesn't. This is where he's going over his transformation, right? He's like, we don't need to win kind of situation.
Yeah, but for him, he was kind of building up that a tie is still a victory for them because they're better in the sense that they've grown more and they don't cause trouble like Class A.
Yeah, I mean that's what he's always been trying to say, but. Because there's the sense we've already learned that Class A has gotten more real life experience than any other hero class ever would at this point. Yeah. But at the same time, Class B has been using all the regular studies, like the curriculum that's put in place to make them into good heroes, to also become good heroes. So
that is true.
Instead of just being like Class 1A is the best because real life experience is always better, the curriculum apparently is doing its job and they're learning well.
Yeah, so. there's a reason UA is considered to be an excellent school for heroes.
Yeah, I do think that like you kind of like I think that Todoroki was a good example is how we can see some of the failures of Class 1A. Is that this is just a training practice, and Todoroki was ready to injure himself to like really high levels, as we always see Deku being able to, because they're so used to being put in like life or death situations in fights.
Yeah.
Right? That they're not thinking about like the damage to the property around them because they always have to like save actual people no matter what the property around them is. Well, Class 1A is like just like, no. Like the textbook says here not to destroy this building. But I think that's one of the issues with Class 1A is they've been in too many of these situations to grain in their bread or in their mind to have to win.
I mean, that is true, but like in terms of like property damage, like Mudmen didn't have any issue just toppling towers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know, that's true. They probably lost some points on that one.
I mean, probably, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. In general, I think that it's just, you'll see it with Deku too, right? He's too willing to injure himself even inside these like mock battles and stuff. Yeah. As we start like when he was trying to win the first tournament in season 2, breaking all of his fingers and shit like that, almost beyond repair. Because like life is normally for Class 1A, it's normally a life or death situation. So
that is true.
They only have like 2 switches, right? Off or on. It's not like midway in between.
Yeah, which I mean, I don't think we're gonna see Deku like injure himself within the upcoming arc. I think we're kind of past that.
He's a
part
lot
of the
better
story.
now, right? He's got like the cool like gloves that help, and
yeah, he's got the ranged attack.
He kicks
got
things.
shoot style.
They even mentioned that. They're like, we heard Deku has a range attack now, so we got to be careful of that. And like, I don't know. I want to see Deku go apeshit. I'd love if Deku just walked in.
He's getting some sort of power up this time.
Yeah, I think that it's probably going to happen with the whole Shinzo situation. The vestiges have to kick him to protect him again, and that's going to give him some information about them or something. But
yeah, but do you think they're just going to give him like a raw percentage upgrade, or?
I hope not. I think he needs new like additions because they always talk about like the quirk growing, but I don't think the quirk will necessarily just grow with like power. Yeah. Like I feel like it's very possible new things are added to it. especially like specifically based off what the person uses. So you know, if Deku becomes a real kicky boy, you know, who knows what happens? Maybe he gets like instead of just maybe power and like because his power is kind of his speed. But
it's a mixture of physical enhancements and just raw speed.
Yeah, but I as much as cool as it is just to, you know, keep smashing things and get like, you know, now I have 25% to my power and that kind of thing. Adding something new to it would be kind of cool, but I can't really think of what they could do.
I mean, they talk about how the power is passed down, right? Mm-hmm. And if you pass it down to a quirk user, it's supposed to add that quirk into it and magnify it.
Yep. You haven't seen the newest movie?
No.
Okay.
I'm assuming something happens with Bakugo and it's like a super powerful blast.
Maybe.
I know that they do the whole, like, spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning for the movie, Two Heroes, or Heroes Rising. Heroes Rising.
Yeah, skip like a minute ahead. I know that they share the power at some point, so Deku ends up in the All Might position where he's just using the dregs of the power.
Yeah, so they're about to lose, and Deku has to. He's like, the only way we're going to win this is by both of us having one for all, so he gives a piece of his blood to do a cute little blood hand touch. Bakugo gets it, and he basically becomes like nuclear explosion Bakugo, like super, super really strong. But yeah, then like something happens. I think they use like some sort of bullshit explanation that like the vestiges kept Deku from losing the power there because he literally expected it. He's like, oh, Bakugo, like this is up to you now, like to carry this on because I'm fucked, like kind of situation. But then like All Might's like, no, the vestiges must have decided that you're not done, you're cool. So Bakugo woke up. There's no power. He doesn't remember what happened. But yes, to an extent, it literally just amplifies whatever quirk you already have. So
yeah. So in theory, if it passes the quirk on as well, there's theoretically like 7 other quirks mixed into this.
Yeah. Now we obviously know someone like All Might quirkless, if you believe that theory. I still think his quirk is becoming jacked, but you know, stick to your own theories.
For all we know, suddenly Deku's going to become swole.
Yeah, like if fuck, I hope if like in, you know, the third person who was like a guy who could eat rocks as his power. Now Deku can like super eat rocks when he has this is carried on.
Think about it, like if they had like telekinesis, he'd be able to just lift buildings with it in theory.
It's true, but like I can't imagine them doing that, like because there's always someone else in the show who already has one of these quirks. So like what can Deku have that the other ones can't?
They might just do something basic and give him like a JoJo stand where there's like another version of him fighting with him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I could see that. I wouldn't be surprised if they just keep getting stronger though. And he like, it's more like he invents new things based off what he has, like with his quirk.
Yeah, I mean,
like how he uses like cool finger blasts and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
they might do something with the finger blast. They might give him something that like is incendiary or just like ups it, so it's actually like shockwaves.
Maybe he just fucking goes so fast. Maybe he gets like some flint on the gloves, like a Roy Mustang situation, and he just like flicks on like a bigger fire blast and like Todoroki just.
I feel like that would be stepping on Bakugo's toes a little bit.
That's what I'm saying, though. You can't give him more powers without stepping on someone's toes. Like, you know, even like if he punches so hard, like All Might, for instance, that it changes the weather. Later weather guy quirk. Fuck you. Now we got Deku. He creates his own weather too by you fucking blast. Oh, we got a time travel guy. Deku's so powerful he runs backwards in time. Like, you know, like eventually it's gonna get to the point where everybody else is shit and Deku's just Deku.
I mean, I think that's like the idea of Deku at this point.
I know. It's like anyone. It's like Superman in comic books. You know, it starts off as them being super powered, like with super strength, but eventually it becomes everything. Yeah, they're faster than the Flash. He has time travel by flying faster. Like they fuck over every hero eventually, so it's possible. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, but that's still far off in the future, anyways. But yeah, if you guys have any thoughts, theories about this episode, let us know down below. Mainly if you have any theories about how this little arc's going to end. As we know, so at this point it's 2-1 with a draw. So Class 1A can't lose. They can either tie or win. So I'd be curious if you guys think they're going to tie or win. The obvious thing is the Ash Ketchum syndrome, where they make them tie by Deku losing. Or it's possible they give Deku a nice win and they win it, but Shinzo at least proved his mettle enough to join the class.
Yeah, because Shinzo doesn't need to win to join the class. He just needs to.
Yeah, he needs to show the right qualities, and he did a good job in the first part. I think the second part's going to be even more important for him.
Yeah, now that he's dealing with people that know his tricks, that's going to be the real proving ground. So.
Yeah, it's easy to get people the first time when they don't know what's going on, but as a famous hero, people normally are going to know what you do. So you kind of get a little fucked in that situation. But that's it for My Hero. Join us next week. We will be talking about episode number 98. Next up on today's list is Vivy, episode number 9.
Harmony of one's heart, my mission, your future.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, this one was obviously the first one to go into a 3-episode arc.
Yep.
It seems like the arc is done at the end of this one?
I think the arc is done. Like, that's a pretty finite way to end the arc.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit confused at the time, because I thought the time was 12 years after whatever happened on the Metal Float. But then someone mentioned this 40 years, and I was like, but is that 40 years from the first time he met her?
I think it's 40 years total.
Okay.
So
as we learned from the last one left off with a little cliffhanger. this timeline, they're there to stop Ophelia, who's one of the songstress AIs, from killing herself, and that causes everybody to think that AIs have souls if they want to commit suicide, and that really fucks some shit up in the future.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the last episode, we learned the twist that it's not even Ophelia the whole time. It was Antonio, her like sound and light guy.
Yeah.
Her support AI or partner AI, I think they call them.
Yep.
It was him. It's him the whole time, whatever. And then at the same time, we see Vivi encountering what looks to be a much younger, more fit version of the guy that she used to know from Toke.
Yep.
I don't know. What's his name? Is it? They mention it in this. It's like Kiriyama or Kirishima or Kiriyumu or something.
I don't know if that's it. I think that might be the Matsumoto's creator.
Is this guy Matsumoto's creator, though?
No.
Twist?
I can assure you it's not.
But he mentions him specifically at one point, but I don't know.
Well, this is the guy from Toke, but he's been put into an android body.
Yes. That was a guess from last week. It was my prediction that he was an AI, and that came true. So we see the two different perspectives anyways. For Vivi, for the most part, she is still fighting him, and he kind of goes off. Like the end of last week, we saw his like past with the AI teacher, and exactly what my guess was last week. He's like why are AIs even born if they have to die? So I don't even want them to exist. It was exactly what I said last week was going to be his like plot line. It sounded cheesy, but I mean, they did it anyways.
I mean, it kind of worked.
It kind of worked, right? Like if an AI is born just to complete their mission, and like he mentions that like going to the funeral was fucked, right? He's like, because they give him like a funeral as if he's a human, but then like at the funeral they like play videos of his last minutes like before he died kind of thing, and he's like, yeah, that's messed up. He's like, why do we give him like a human thing, but then treat him not like a human in this element? So
yeah, I mean, there's the argument that it's like trying to like celebrate him being a hero to the end or something like that, but
yeah, like I feel like if you had, I maybe not playing at someone's funeral.
Yeah.
But like I'm sure if someone in real life died doing a heroic act and there was like video footage, I'm sure that would go around later, so people could like honor that person, and be like, man, that's like such a cool heroic deed. But playing it at the funeral,
little tasteless.
Yeah. So we see him upset, and then he also mentions that the first time he met Diva, she wasn't even technically Vivi at that point. The first time he met Diva, she kind of said the same thing that his master his teacher used to say.
Yeah.
And that kind of got him a little mad or a little happy, or he's got mixed emotions. Okay.
He was confused.
Yeah, he's got mixed emotions towards AIs, as we learned, because even then after that plot line, it's when he meets I'm not gonna remember her name now. It's been too long. The sister of Estelle.
Oh, I wanted to say Ophelia, but I know that's wrong. Elizabeth?
I think it was Elizabeth. Yeah. So he meets her, and he becomes her master, and that's another like mixed relationship with an AI. So he's definitely got some confusing feelings. Then eventually at the metal float arc, he gets saved by Vivi again and kind of helps her a little bit there. And now when we see him here, he's clearly slightly different.
Yeah, he looks younger. He didn't have the AI marketing though.
He didn't know, but I think that he's a very special case, clearly.
Yeah.
And like his goal here is like weird. It's just like he was
trying to bring Vivi back.
Yeah, he was trying to bring Vivi back, which he does technically succeed in doing. But like more for the reason of he just doesn't understand Vivi, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Like
doesn't really understand like the same thing as ever, like what her mission is. Why does she need to why is she saving people if her mission is just to make people happy with singing, right? Like that's not following her mission. It's the same thing as his teacher. His teacher's mission is to teach people piano. Why are you saving people from a car explosion? That's not your mission, right? So he doesn't quite understand that, and he's like desperate to get like these answers from Vivi. But since this person's Diva and is like, I don't know any of these things, I'm not Vivi, he's getting mad, and he quickly injects her with like a virus that is slowly the intention of like deleting her current personality and bringing Vivi back.
Yeah.
And as we see for like her last part in the episode, is she goes on stage to do her final performance because she knows that she's dying, which is Diva dying, and we're getting Vivi back. So we see like the little image of them in the two separate rooms, kind of like muffled, talking to each other, kind of thing.
Yeah, talking over the song, talking about Matsumoto, and
until slowly, then it's Viva or not Viva. That's the combination. Vivi takes over, and that's kind of like where her little thing ends there.
Yeah.
But Matsumoto is on the roof dealing with the Antonio. So most of the episode is actually just two fight scenes.
It is, yeah.
So you're getting Vivi versus whatever the heck his name is from Toke. Both obviously AIs, both pretty freaking good at combat at this point.
Yeah.
Because really he wins the fight still.
I mean,
he wins the fight. Matsumoto last second like mind injects him and screws him over. But like their fight looks fucking sick though too.
Oh god,
Like,
yeah.
they're flying everywhere. They're throwing shit at each other. Like she gets smashed through a piano at one point. That's probably symbolism for something, since his whole thing's about a piano teacher. And at the same time, we have Matsumoto doing a weird AI fight with Ophelia. Brings back the body of Antonio, and
Yeah.
the AI fight was the weirdest part because there was like simulations run with like things on the ground. If they stepped in them, they're getting fucked. I was like, this is too AI for me. I don't understand.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting because he was specifically like an intellect warfare program or something like that.
Yeah, and he mentioned like, how do you have this kind of thing? Like,
Yeah, it doesn't belong in this era.
yeah, so there's a lot of questions about that, and maybe we'll see Matsumoto mention that whenever we see him next. In this episode, he was a little too busy trying to solve everything going on.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, we also have him like questioning Antonio, like, why'd you do this? And we see some flashbacks of, Antonio, and his reasoning was pretty freaking stupid. Like,
Yeah, it was definitely twisted and
I don't even comprehend his full reasoning. He basically like his mission was to make Ophelia's mission come true, and in his mind, the best way of doing that was to take over Ophelia to complete her mission, to complete
Yeah.
his mission.
he basically just said like if this isn't working, I'll do it myself.
Even like Matsumoto's like, nah, that's bullshit. He's like, that's fucked up. He's like,
Yeah.
and we kind of see the Matsumoto a little bit of emotion coming out. He's like, I have my partner AI, and he's like, and I thought about doing it the same way as you. He's like, but I decided not to because it wasn't that my mission was to complete that. It's like my mission is to complete this with her. You
Yeah.
know. And that's like he's basically like schooling Antonio, being like, your mission isn't to get that done. Your mission is to get that done with Ophelia, and you have failed. So at the end, either way, Matsumoto absolutely fucks him. Matsumoto.
Yeah, it looks like it's going badly for him at first.
It
but
was
it's,
going badly because he was putting a lot of focus into his other Matsumotos trying to help Vivy.
Yeah.
And then once he kind of got that all sorted out, he was like, oh, I'm good. I'm at 100% now. And then he just absolutely wrecked them. And, we get a sad little scene of we see Antonio and Ophelia. They're both down on the ground. They're reaching out for each other,
Yeah, I guess Ophelia came back at the end.
Yeah, right in time to die. Yeah.
I guess she was just suppressed, not erased.
Yeah, so I mean, good for her. They get to kind of she's not mad at him or anything like that. They get a nice little touching moment, kind of right before they both die. The question to me is like, yeah, sure, no AI suicide, but who the fuck is explaining how these AIs died up on the rooftop?
Yeah, I feel like it might even have worse.
No,
Like-
it has bad implications for something, but I think as far as like their movement goes, or whatever, for the anomaly thing, or like what do they call it, the Singularity Project?
Yeah.
I think that like having someone murdered an AI robot, if anything, it doesn't really help. It's not like proving that the robots have a soul. It's just another like toke kind of situation.
My worry is because at the end, Antonio was going on about how he wanted her to sing only for him, and she said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to lead to like AI, like people arguing that AIs can love each other so they have souls and doing the exact same thing?
It's possible. For the most part, most things we've seen that like Diva or Vivy has changed at some point. It like didn't actually help for the most part.
Yeah.
Based on some sort of step she took. If I had to guess, my outcome is going to be that they use the body of the one guy as like a blame for saying he was like the one who killed Ophelia and them because he's like a member of Toke. They probably have that somewhere. Like he is. I don't know if they really want the government finding this weird half AI, half person kind of thing.
I mean, I feel like he's probably known because he was talking about how he's the bridge between AIs and humans, right?
Yeah, so I mean that could like this guy being a thing because he might not have been a thing in the original timeline, right? Like he probably
I don't think
wasn't.
he would have been.
He probably wasn't, but now he is. So this might be a bigger thing than an AI suicide. Is a weird AI human mix.
Yeah, because he was supposed to die in Sunrise.
Yeah, I mean he would have technically died like anywhere. Like
Yeah.
as far as you think, like even then, do we know if he wouldn't have died in the first tower? Like we don't know 100% because the tower fell on him. But if Vivy wasn't there to make that tower fall at a certain time, maybe he wouldn't have been in there when the tower fell.
I don't think it would have gone that way if Vivy hadn't been there because the only reason he was even in the building and it wasn't just a clean detonation was because Vivy interfered with the assassination.
Mm-hmm. So possible he would have died in Sunrise. Maybe there's a situation where he wouldn't have died in Sunrise.
I mean, maybe Elizabeth would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say like how much he was in the original one, but I don't think him becoming an AI was in the original timeline because he pretty much like specifically did this to go get answers from Vivy.
Yeah, and he mentioned specifically Matsumoto's creator, and Matsumoto's shocked by this, so he obviously doesn't have a record of him.
Yeah, I don't know. There's clearly Matsumoto's creator sent a second Matsumoto somewhere else and did some weird shit. I don't know.
Just
When you're messing with timeline, like
Sure.
time and plots, it can go all over the place.
yeah.
So we'll have to see that as we get later into the show.
This is a can of worms most of the time. So
Another banging performance though from Diva. We didn't get to see all of it because we kept cutting in and out of like her little music, her room, her mind.
I mean, we still got the music, and I gotta admit, the soundtrack on this show is amazing.
Soundtrack's always bop, and even the opening. I typically watch the opening each week because it's always pretty nice.
Oh yeah.
And then at the very end, we're getting Vivy back. So we don't really see what outcome that has in this episode. We just see her. We don't get to see her really come back. We just second, we just know that she's back because the diva's gone and she's vanished, and we see Vivy walking back into the room.
Yeah.
But we still don't. We weren't answering any questions like about what fully happened when she disappeared. Like if she did in fact kill herself.
That's probably going to be next week.
Probably. Do you think there's going to be another time jump, or do you think that there's too much they have to answer for after this timeline?
I think they're going to, if they don't do an immediate time jump, it's just going to be a quick.
A small one, like a
Yeah.
couple months, couple years, like something small, not like another 15 or 20 year one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's too many questions, right? Like, what did they do? Like, how has the world changed after discovering this part human, part AI kind of situation? What happened based off like Ophelia being murdered?
Yeah, like are they able
during this concert? Like
imagine, like, first of all, I was confused. There was a big explosion. No one reacted to it in the concert hall.
no one gave a fuck.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like, I guess these are really banging performances.
I mean, that was another like the whole fight. Like, it's hard to describe because obviously we normally talk about plot line and like describing fighting's hard, but the whole fight was also dope, right?
Oh,
the
God,
exploding jump out the window at the one point he catches her by the hair and like hits her head against the side while they're falling out. Like all the fighting looks really dope. He like goes to shoot her with his arm cannon at one point, and then a Matsumoto like jumps in the way and like takes the hit.
Yeah, specifically designed like I think it was a shot dampener or something like
Yeah,
that.
he
so
like
it
just like curled kind of around it, so it just like took the hit for her. It was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing looked really, really good. If you haven't seen Vivy, I don't know why you're watching this part, so I'm assuming you have seen it. But
if you haven't, and you're just looking for recommendations,
it looks
go watch
fantastic. Yeah, like the audio and the visuals always fantastic.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
100%. So it's really good. Next week we'll have to see what the fallout of all this is because there should be a lot of fallout based off someone being
I mean, yeah.
Ophelia being killed at this concert.
I mean, on top of that, Antonio, who was a dead AI, came back to life and started moving around again.
Yeah, and then we don't know if anyone saw it or someone's like, why did they move Antonio's body up here beside her?
Well, I mean,
like,
Antonio's body is a little bit wrecked, so
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, there has to be a lot of fallout, and I think realistically they'll probably still do a time skip, and we'll just get Matsumoto explaining what has changed or what happened because of this.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to start the next episode with just like Vivy walking off the stage and then the repercussions being immediate. So we don't know though till next week. So keep an eye out. Next week we'll be talking about it again, and we'll be seeing where this goes. I have no idea how many episodes we have left, nor do I know if this is going to be a one season show or not. It very much seems like it could be.
this seems like a very contained series, and if it is more than one, I think it's going to be a completely different storyline.
Yeah, or like, but you never know because they could just troll and be like, it doesn't work on the end. So Matsumoto's like, better go back again, and he goes back. This time he goes back and sends it to a different Vivy, and the whole thing changes. Who knows?
It starts again with Vivian, just uploads her current personality. It's like, okay,
Yeah, like there.
let's
Now
try
you have
this
all
again.
the stuff you need to go into this, but don't know how it ends. I'm sure if any of you know while watching this, like how many episodes are going to be, if there's only going to be one season. It's hard to know because I know there's no source material. So, but if you've heard anything or if you've seen on sites like an episode list, just let us know down below in the comments. Next up on the list is the 86, episode number 7.
Will you remember me?
Yes. the episode is very emotional. I feel like this one,
Yeah.
it was probably one of my most enjoyable ones to watch, but it's also probably one of the hardest ones to talk about in like a sense. Because a lot of it's just like emotional connections. Like we're at what is this, episode 7, episode 8? I just named this off and I already can't remember. Because like it is episode 7. Because we're 7 episodes in, and a lot of this has just been establishing the connection between Lena and all the other people here. And we're seeing that in this, right? As she's talking to them. Once again, we're getting like a lot of back and forth in like the timeline, but only by like a few hours each time.
True.
So we see that we start at the fireworks. They're all kind of happy. We see them talking about Shin, and they look up at Shin, and he's like saying something to someone, clearly like probably Lena.
Yeah.
And then we like cut into like, Lena doing stuff, and she's like going and she's like, securing, she's like bribing the one guy to get these goods out to the 86 because they need them. And I'm like, oh, what are these goods? And then later we're seeing a scene of like we see the fireworks again and learning that she gave them that. And then later we're seeing a different scene of Shin accepting the fireworks. I'm like, man, we're going all over the place here. We're getting all this information at so many varied times. The big details, other than just them becoming like slowly closer, is that they give her some information, basically, because she keeps wondering why they're not getting new squad members.
Yeah.
And this isn't a surprise to us, because I think we predict this episode number 1. Yeah. But they basically, we see a couple different times of the characters mentioning that like they're not telling her something, right? At the one point they're taking the shower, you have the 2 girls showering. One important detail is that whatever's on Anju's back.
Yeah. There's a brand or some writing there.
A brand or a tattoo or something that we can't like fully see, nor do we know 100% what that means yet.
I think it's a scar, but
I feel like it looked more than something like a scar then. Like it looks like it was more important than that.
I'm thinking it's a very deliberately placed scar that forms writing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be writing. Like, someone could have like completely branded her, because they do mention that a lot of the people in the 86 are, partial, of the other race and stuff like that. Now, her hair isn't like white like them, but it's got like the white tint to the purpleness. Like,
yeah, Anju's definitely closer to the non-86.
Whatever their race is.
Yeah, than the others are. So
yeah,
that would definitely make her a target.
So we see them talking though, and they're like, they mention again, like, hey, like, do you think Shin should tell her? And they're like, I don't know. And like, as the audience, we're like, wait, what is Shin going to tell her? Like, then we keep seeing other characters like mention this, and we're like, okay, like, what are they keeping from her?
There was something early on where they were talking about, like, you keep trying to keep it together is distracting to us. You should just cut the connection, stop talking to us. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if that was like them cutting back to debating if they should tell her that.
I feel like it was. I don't know when that chat took place though.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm confused about. So
I don't, as we say, they cut back and forth a lot of the times.
There's so many time skips. It's like, okay.
It was probably, because I don't think that was at the end where they were in like the base.
I think that was earlier on, or like I couldn't even place the voice properly, so I wasn't sure who it was.
It was the short hair girl, the one that we see in the shower with Anju. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, Gunslinger. Or?
Yeah, whatever her freaking name is. But I'm almost positive it's her. The one who has like a crush on Shin.
Yeah.
But like the important part is we already know that like a lot of the times that yes, they don't necessarily like her because they don't like her like race and they don't treat the 86 well. But we also see in this episode a lot, now that they've kind of gotten used to her, a lot of it's just like they know that she's not a bad person. There's nothing she can do about the situation going on.
Yeah.
So they're like, you might as well just like cut your ties. Like, you're not going to gain anything from this. And a lot of why they want her to do this too is because the reason we find out, which Shin eventually explains to her while she's like being like, they go to the base, right? They do the base mission and they get fucked. There's some like high class, like 4,000 meter per second mortar that's hitting them.
Yeah, that's 4 kilometers or almost 2 miles.
I was confused because like, did anyone die there? Because
yes,
that's what I thought. It looked like people were getting taken out. Like it was showing like the hit explosions then mixed with like characters and like the fireworks. And I was like, are these people getting murdered? But
they got murked.
Okay, I was gonna say we didn't actually see confirmation of it. Like I didn't get to see like Shin carving their names out of the machines or anything like that. So I wasn't.
I don't think he had a chance.
Well, they did immediately retreat. So after getting fucked, Lena's like, I'm calling for a retreat on this mission, and Shin's like, Roger that.
Yeah.
We do see quickly Shin gets like a mind flash there, and he sees the brother's face. And then if you watch the post credit, did you watch the post credit scene?
Yes.
So if we see the post credit scene later, it's a very large robot. Probably Shin's brother. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And so that's
a commander unit.
Yeah, that's probably the thing that's shooting fucking the huge ass mortar shots.
Yeah, that looks like a battle platform. That thing is just wrecking everything.
But yeah, as they leave the battle, Lena's kind of freaking out. She's like, "This is bullshit. Like, I keep saying, they keep telling me they're gonna send like they got this unit thing covered, and then they're not sending one." And they're like, and then Shin's like, "Okay, it's fucking time." He's like, "I gotta be honest with you now." He's like, "They ain't sending anybody." He's like, the Spearhead Squadron is the place where they send the 86 who have lived too long and are getting too close to their 5-year timeline. So they send them there to execute them all.
Yeah.
As we kind of knew, like going into the show, we knew that there was no 5-year retirement plan.
No, there was no way they were getting out.
You ain't getting out. We didn't know exactly how they, keep them from getting out, if they just like keep extending it each time. But we learn now that like once people are getting close, and like because most people don't get close, right? They mentioned only like the most skilled of them are making it to the point where they actually might live for the full thing.
Yeah.
So as people get close to it, they put them into the Spearhead Squadron, which is like the first squad, and that's the one where like you ain't living. They're not replacing members in there until all the current ones are dead. And then when all the current members are dead, they'll replace them with other people that they want to come in and die.
Yeah, which I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they would. You think that once you hit a certain time frame, they would just like send you to that unit and just have the go on.
Yeah, because like what happens when Shin does? Like, are they just gonna keep like if Shin's the last one alive? Are they just gonna keep putting Shin in missions like versus all of them by himself? Because they even mention all the time they don't think Shin's gonna die. Like the one girl mentions like what's he gonna like when we're all gone? We don't have to worry because Shin's gonna like he's gonna take care of us.
Yeah.
But she's like, but what's he gonna do? Like, but who's gonna like who's gonna watch him kind of thing, or who's gonna bring him along kind of situation? So I don't really, because they mentioned they're not getting any new members until they're all dead. But like, what happens if they just don't die? Like, I think they're just gonna keep putting them in more and more impossible situations to kill them. Which is, I mean, they're really fucking themselves over, as we know, because like there's not going to be an end to this war in 2 years.
Yeah, but they don't know that. They just assume that they can kill off all the 86 and then just wait out the rest.
I know, but I feel like someone in like the highest ups of these militaries know this information. Like they have to. Like I'm sure
somebody's theorizing it, but I'm sure nobody's listening to them.
Because I feel like someone had to listen to some 86 theories about it and that kind of stuff, but we don't 100% know. But either way, this is very important because like Lena was put in charge of the squad, and it's literally just going to be that they're all going to die. Like,
Yeah.
and then they're literally basically like, hey, you should just like quit, like, stop, because you're literally getting attached to us, and you're coming into the squad where we're all just sentenced to be executed.
Yeah.
So they're like, there's no more point of this. Like, you're not getting anyone else. We're all here to die. Like, so they do still like, they're like, hey, we don't mind this girl. Like, she means well. We got to be honest with her. Even when they're having like the shower conversation.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to, like, they don't want to tell her, but they're like, but we should tell her, kind of situation.
Yeah. This way she can at least try and prep herself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that she's going to step up, right? Because she even mentioned, she literally says like, hey, why don't you guys like rebel? She's like, why don't you guys like attack the capital or like run away? And they're like, we could do that. They're like, but like and that's where he kind of goes and like, but even the people, not all of your race is bad, just like not all of the 86 are good. He's like, some of us have connections to people back there, and even if we don't, some of us, if we're gonna die anyways, we might as well die like putting up a fight kind of situation. Yeah. And that's it for the most part. Like, Lena's obviously not having a good time with this. We don't really get to see her outcome. At this point, they probably think she's just gonna quit, but she's not, right?
No, because she specifically says like, I'm not going to let you guys die, and
yeah, she's got a strong character. I don't know exactly how she intends to stop it. Maybe we'll see in the next episode how, from her perspective, how she thinks it's going to end. And then leaving off of the post-credit scene, we see a very large machine.
Yeah, we see it wrecking multiple juggernauts. Mm-hmm. And then we just get to see it pose with its shiny new body and giant-ass cannons.
Yeah, so I'm almost positive this is going to be Shin's brother, especially with the whole little flash of a memory thing that Shin felt earlier.
Yeah, there was definitely a connection there.
Yeah, mixed with the fact that it's very large and it's got some big cannons, and we know that something with big cannons shot them the last time where Shin had this flashback.
Yeah, because the thing that was shooting at them was insane. First of all, it was firing through the clouds.
Yeah, it was massive. They were just it was like meteors hitting them.
Yeah, that was like Hammer of Dawn level bullshit. So
yeah, so I mean, it's gonna be big. I don't know if that's gonna be next episode. I feel like there's got to be some more emotional stuff next episode first to figure out how Lena's gonna deal with the situation.
Yeah, there's gonna be something like she just says, use the new juggernauts, because they talk about that. They get new juggernauts, but they're not allowed to use them. Mm-hmm. They're meant for the next squad. Yeah,
she's gonna have to do some illegal shit or something like that to try and help them out in ways, because it's not like her, like, even if like she gave up her life where she is and she like ran to go to the 86, what the fuck's she gonna do? Nothing.
Yeah, she has no combat experience and she'll die in the first fight.
Yeah, and it won't help anything. So she's got to do some like sketchy illegal shit, or she has to start like trying to convince her people that the war's not gonna end, right? So then instead of then just doing weird executions on the 86 because they're like, hey, we have all the time in the world. Yeah, probably be like, hey, we need some of these 86 to live because this war ain't ending unless we win. So maybe she starts like a propaganda thing for that, or maybe she just starts like trying to be a little sketchy and try and get the 86 as much new stuff as she can.
I think it's going to be an equipment. I think she's going to go through her tech friend or the scientist friend or whatever she is, and start shipping them some stuff they're not supposed to have. Because the way this society is portrayed, I don't think propaganda would make much of an impact.
Probably not. Unless like, and you need like a really, really high up person. Like, it might be her trying to convince her uncle that it's real, and her uncle being like, I don't even care if it's real. Like, we can't change our ways. Like, kind of thing. Like, if we're gonna, like, he might literally be like, hey, if you're like, I don't believe you, but if you're being honest, it's better for us just not know about it until it happens, kind of thing.
Jesus.
Which I could genuinely see from this like population kind of situation. So
yeah, because I mean they don't even have a standing military. Let's face it.
Yeah, so they'll be fucked anyways, and I don't think that he's probably like, hey, if we're gonna get fucked and like if we're just gonna get absolutely destroyed when the 86 are gone, it's better for it to just happen than for us to try and put up a fight that we can't put up anyways. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point she goes to her uncle being like, hey, he's got sway if I can convince him, but he's like, even if I believe you, I won't do anything about it, and that's if I believe you, which he might not. So
yeah,
we'll have to see the fallout from that next week, though. I think that we have to see Lena's plan, and we get a little bit more emotionally invested, obviously, as we lose more and more characters of the 86, and we know we're not getting any more. So
yeah,
which is probably a good thing, because we don't want to keep introducing new characters just to watch get killed anyways. We want to see our current cast get killed. But that's everything for the 86. We'll be talking about episode number 8 next week. I know for a fact that I'm pretty sure the source material is still going on here.
I think
there's a decent amount, so it doesn't seem like it's going to be a one season show, so that's good. But I could definitely see the pace and like the whole kind of plot changing with different seasons, because I don't think we can just watch these guys fight with her, at the sync thing, like in the room for the entire thing.
Something's going to change. So
yeah, like there could be some big stuff that changes, So I wouldn't be surprised about that, but that's obviously not going to be now. We're only 7 episodes in. So keep an eye out for next week. If you have any thoughts, theories, opinions, anything, comment down below. As always, we love it for the algorithm. We love it for the discussion. And we'll be talking about the 86 next week. Next up on the list is Tokyo Revengers, episode number 7.
Revive.
I mean, no one gets revived in this episode. I'll say that right now.
There's only so many words that start with re.
Oh, do they all have Re in them?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, damn. So we see exactly what we expected. It takes off from the last week, right? The Mobius gang shows up and it's like, hey, we're going to beat you guys up. You've been talking shit about us. We're going to take you out right now. And we're still seeing like Takemichi's like, oh, this fight's happening now. He's like, but this fight's not supposed to happen for a few days. And he's still wary of like Draken getting stabbed here.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the one guy's like, oh, after the stabbing, everything fucked up. Kind of everything went wrong kind of situation.
Yeah. Which I don't think he said specifically the stabbing. I think it was that altercation was the start of it.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if even if he did mention like the stabbing, he never specifically mentioned like stabbing Draken or anything.
True.
If he did mention anything like that. And in this, we get to see some shit, right? So it starts off mainly, it's like they're letting Pa, whatever the fuck his name is.
Pa.
They're letting him fight him. He's getting his ass completely kicked. But even as Takemichi goes to try and step in and the other friend goes to step in, Mikey's like, no, he's not done yet. He's like, he's still fighting.
Yeah, he hasn't given up. So.
He hasn't given up. He's like literally passing it on his feet. The enemy's like laughing at him, and as he's about to fall over, you know, Mikey comes in and he like, you know, gives him a shoulder to lean on kind of thing. And then Mikey's like, okay, it's time for me to fight now.
Yeah.
And what's his name? The guy, Okanari something. I don't know.
Osanai.
Osanai.
I
think it's Osanai. Yeah. So he's like, haha. So like, Mikey, you think let's fight? Like, you think you're tough? And then Mikey just temple kicks him.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is out. Like, I'm saying, like, you get
done.
kicked that hard in the temple, you're fucking, that's dangerous. Either way.
Yeah.
It's what we thought, kind of like, it's the one shot Mikey. We have seen he's pretty OP. He goes and he gives him the temple kick right there. And then even all the other like,
his band of miscreants.
yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. But you know, his group, the rest of the Mobius people are now like a little intimidated, right? Even though reasonably they could be like, hey, we still have the numbers. When your leader gets taken out and you're just the grunts, right?
Yeah,
You can,
especially when your leader gets taken out with one hit.
yeah, it's the classic thing, right? Like, it's like a classic strategy. Take out the leader and the rest of the people kind of swarm.
Yeah.
So as he takes them out, even Takemichi's like, oh, wait a minute, like, we're gonna do this, like, we're gonna win this fight, like, this is dope. And he's like, this is so good, like, everything's gonna go okay. And as that happens, right, you hear the cops, everybody starts to scatter. They're like, oh, okay, fuck, like, you know, we gotta bail. Everybody starts to scatter, and then even we see, like, once again Draken kind of showing like that he's a nice guy. He literally yells at the Mobies because he's like, hey, take Osanai with you, like, don't leave him here, don't be dicks. You know, take him with you. And they're like, oh, okay, yes, sir. You know, because they're like, I think like Draken and Mikey are like, hey, by the way, you guys are part of Toman now. Like, we run the show here. And then obviously, then we see the little image of a knife switching out.
We don't. There was one part before that.
Was there?
Osanai tried to stab him with a bottle.
Tried to stab Draken with a bottle?
Yeah.
So I guess he gets up at some point, tries to stab with a bottle. Draken just hand up in the air.
Oh yeah, kicks his ass.
Knees him. Osanai's like out again. Like, he's still fucked. Like,
oh god, yeah.
But then we see from an image, we see someone switching open a blade, and we're like, oh no, we don't get to see who it is right there. Someone's got a blade out. We're like, oh, someone's sneaking for Draken right now.
Oh god, yeah. Takemichi's like running away. It's like, I wonder when this is supposed to happen.
Yeah, Takemichi's like literally getting ready to bail. He's like starting to run. He's like, maybe no one gets stabbed at all. Like, that's kind of cool. And then as we see the switchblade, and we're like, oh, who could it be? Yeah. And then obviously we see Pa, whatever the hell his name is, and he just fucking rams it right into Osanai. Yeah. Get him the old stabby. And even Draken's like, dude, what the fuck? He's like, that's hardcore. And then like as they're like trying to run, Mikey's like, Pa, like, let's go. And he's like, no. He's like, he's like kind of crying. He's upset. He's like, I'm gonna take it. He's like, I'm just gonna get arrested.
Turning myself in.
Yeah, he's like, I'm turning myself in here. And Mikey's like clearly like pissed. He's like, no, like, Pa, let's go. And then like Draken pulls him away. And then, you know, they all start bailing. They all start running away as the cops show. We see like the cops show up and they're arresting some of the Mobius people. So not all of them got away. And as they're running away, Takemichi just passes out. Like, we see he's like slowly fading, right? Until he passes out. He wakes up next inside the hospital. Yeah. You know, given the classic, the lucky Letcher immediately waking up to a grope of I think her name's Emma.
That sounds about right.
I don't know how many Japanese girls are named Emma, but anime wants us to think that apparently there's lots.
For all we know, it's not actually her name. She just uses it.
Yeah, maybe. But, you know, he wakes up her there and she starts crying, basically being like, oh, like, you know, like Draken and Mikey, they're like fighting. And he's like, uh-oh, no.
Like, it's serious. And
yeah, like, it's serious. And, you know, she's like really upset. Right there, I thought she was going to say that like Draken died and he like slept too long and like it still happened. I was like, oh, no. But it isn't the time yet. I think it's like August 1st or something. Like, we're still a few days away.
Yeah. I think he was only out for like a day.
Yeah, but then he spends the next 3 days in his bedroom after. We see him, after that, he's told to go on bed rest, and we see he spent like 3 days just working on this puzzle.
Yeah.
So he finishes the puzzle. His friends come over and he's like, "Hey guys, like give it to me straight. Like what's going on with Draken and Mikey?" And they're all like looking somber. Like it's not good. Like Toman's done for. Like this fight's too big. And he's like, "Oh no." And they're like, "Yeah, we're just fucking pranking you, bro." They fight all the time. They're cool. And then we see Draken show up. And he's like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about me?" And they're all like, "Oh no, come on in." And then he's like, he's like, "No, Toman's done." He's like, "Fucking Mikey guy." He's like, "He's a shithead. I'm not doing this."
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, okay, wait, like we're getting a lot of back and forth here. Starts with Emma crying, they're done. Then we go to friends, they're not done. It's just a joke. And then we go right back into Draken. Now we're done.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Emma has more of an in than Mikey's friends, but Takemichi's. Right?
Yeah, as soon as like Draken gets mad, as soon as Mikey's mentioned, he punches down on the table and the puzzle gets destroyed. And Takemichi's like, "No, my puzzle." And then Draken's like, "Shut the fuck up, dude. Like, who cares?" He's like, "I said I'm fucking sorry, so shut up." And then they leave, and as they leave, like Mikey's coming up, and he's like, "Uh-oh," and then Mikey and Draken are like looking at her like, "What the hell are you doing here?" He's like, "I came to visit my friend Takemichi." He's like, "Takemichi's my friend."
Yeah.
And then it's just like a little bit of a squabble. As we see, they're clearly mad, and with the gist of what we're hearing is that it's about Pa. Like,
yeah,
I'm assuming Mikey didn't want them to leave him, but Draken's like, "No, we got to get out of here."
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like enough to start this big of a brawl, like this big of a fight, because it's not like Draken was like, "Nah, that dude stabbed him. Like, I don't care about him anymore." He's like, "No, Mikey, like, we'll be arrested if we stay. Like, we have to leave."
Yeah.
And like, they're not going to be able to drag this, because Pa's like not small, right? He's a pretty big dude.
I mean, yeah.
They're not going to be able to drag him out and still make it away from the police in time, especially if he's not willing to come. So, Draken's obviously the one on the right here, but as we've seen, Mikey's pretty unreasonable.
Yeah. I was gonna say Takemichi. Jesus. Mikey's very much an all or nothing guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he just doesn't want anybody in his crew to lose, even if it's considered a victory to them.
Yeah.
Like,
so he's clearly upset. Like there might be more to it. Takemichi was out, so he didn't see exactly what all happened.
Yeah.
There could be more to it. As I said, there still could be that other bad guy playing somehow, like sneaking in here and throwing some stuff around. But all we know is like the two of them are fighting, and it's pretty bad. As I think, does Draken throw the bike? Who throws the bike?
Draken throws the bike.
Yeah, so Draken throws.
No, it was Mikey.
Was it Mikey? Okay, Mikey.
Yeah,
Mikey
Draken snaps the bat.
Yeah, so it's literally just a scene now of the two of them fighting, but they're just fighting using all of Takemichi's things, and each one is like, he's basically given death flags for each of them. He's like, "No, that's the bat I hit my 4th home run with. It's my favorite one," and Draken just crushes it.
Yeah.
And then it's just a quick scene of everything that he loves being destroyed by the two of them, and then the last thing we see is him being like, "Fuck you guys." He's like, "You guys, that's enough," and we see him getting pissed.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see if that actually goes somewhere in the next episode.
I think what's going to end up happening is he's going to talk them down.
But like how much though?
I don't know.
The thing is like Takemichi, like I think it'd be cool if like he's like so pissed right now that he like doesn't give a fuck about. He's like, I don't care. Like he doesn't care if they're better than him or stronger. Or they're like the leaders
he's
of the
gonna
gang.
throw a punch.
I hope he's just so mad he just doesn't give a shit, and they both respect that to a sense. And then they calm down because they also realize he's injured, so I don't think they're gonna want to like hit him back or anything. I hope anyways.
I could see Mikey throwing a punch,
but I don't think he's just gonna talk them down and be like, "Nah, it's all good." And they're gonna be like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I forgive you. Like we're fine now." I think that there's too many stakes out here with this whole fight coming up.
Yeah, I think something's gonna happen with Takemichi, and they're gonna kind of take a second to talk and maybe like de-escalate it a little bit, settle it with like a fist fight as opposed to a war.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we're still gonna get the war. I feel like it's too planned. Maybe like Takemichi might take a knife or something for Draken still. I kind of hope that's what happens, but we don't really know still. But a lot of it, if we know that like the stabbing is what caused this, but as I said, and we know Draken dies, but there's a good chance that from what there was like a mislead. Like the stabbing wasn't Draken being stabbed and killed. The stabbing was what Pa stabbing the other guy, which caused this whole thing to happen, which caused the rift between Toman, which is what causes Draken to die, right? Like,
True.
I think that was part of like the red herring. Like we just kept thinking that Draken dies by getting stabbed.
Yeah, well, I think the story that oh god, what's his name?
The brother.
Yeah.
What the fuck? We didn't get him for one episode, and we're like, I forget. Like,
he's not a person anymore. I feel like the story he looked up anyways specifically said Draken was the one who got stabbed.
Yeah, so I mean, the question comes again, like, has like the timeline changed, or was the story incorrect? Like we mentioned that last week. We still don't know. It could be either one of them. It could be that the time, like the story wasn't from someone firsthand, so it just wasn't right. Like it wasn't Draken that got stabbed. It was this other guy that got stabbed, or maybe Draken still gets stabbed in like on the August 3rd. Like who knows? But
sure, because we originally thought it was a red herring, that it was just a wrong story, but then Mobius started the fight early.
Yeah. But for all we know, that like Mobius either has always started the fight early, or in this timeline they started the fight earlier because something. But I don't think that's true because I don't think Takemichi had enough.
No, because I think the biggest impact he's had on the Toman gang was basically the early end of the fighting ring.
Yeah. Which
So-
I don't know how much that would have changed when it comes to like Mobius deciding to fight a few days early kind of situation. So I don't know. We need more information. We need to see more happen. It's definitely an intriguing show though. Like it's an interesting watching as it unfolds. And it's kind of nice. Like there's too much in time travel stuff often to being like, oh, how much of this makes an impact on the story and like which of this has changed and that kind of stuff. And I feel like a lot of time travel stuff, they're too eager to tell us. I mean, like, oh, like they feel like so proud of themselves. Like, oh, look how this changed. Like this wouldn't have happened originally. I like that this show kind of hides it a little bit. It makes you think more as like a viewer of being like, is this different or is this always? And we don't know because we never saw the original timeline, right?
That is true, because even when he made the first modifications and changed things a little bit, it didn't really change his life at all.
No, and that's most stuff with time travel, right? They show us the original timeline, and then we see it happen again, and we're then as the audience, we're like, oh, that's different than the last time. Oh, this different than the last time.
Yeah.
But since we've never seen the original timeline, we literally have no fucking clue.
That is
and
true,
since
yeah.
Takemichi's a dumbass, he doesn't even point it out. Like he rarely is like, oh, my life's so different than before. Like I would have been at this point last time. He just goes in like, sure, this is my life.
Thing is, I don't think anything actually changed. He had the same job. He had the same shitty apartment.
Yeah, but like as we mentioned, like even Naoto's the brother's name.
That's it.
Even Naoto references the fact that like he still remembers the current. Like it's weird. Like we guessed maybe it's because he has something to do with Takemichi. Like their powers are kind of joined, but he still remembers the original timeline, even if this timeline has changed now. So that's kind of strange. So Takemichi might. There's too many questions about how the time travel works. I think that for us to get too into it at this point. I think right now though we're just interested to see how this gang fight, the Toman separation, goes between Mikey and Draken, just to kind of see where that ends up. I really think just other than that, like we get to see this little arc end probably in like the next episode or two with the Draken Mikey thing before I think we really introduce that third guy. That really gets us where we thought we were going to start with making sure that guy and Mikey stay away from each other.
Yeah, I feel like Takemichi's kind of forgotten that with the whole keeping Draken alive.
Yeah, because with the Draken Alive added like a new mission, a new quest, and I think now that after that's done, like after that whole thing gets sorted out, then it's going to be back to like, oh, now we really have to make sure he doesn't meet.
Yeah, but I think Takemichi's going to forget about that.
It's possible, but if he does go back again, I think Naoto will remind him, or there'll be a new thing now. It'll be like, oh yeah, like 2 months after Draken died, everything went wrong again because Mikey slipped on a skateboard and broke his left finger, and fuck, he needed that left finger. Yeah,
or like it turns out, Draken just made the problem worse. He turned 2, and now everything's like 10 times worse. They run more territory.
I hope it's that like he saves Draken, and then like he goes back to the future and he like meets Draken in the future, and I kind of want it to just be like, Draken's living his best life, Yeah. He's like a father now of like 2. He's like a salary man. Like I want something like that for Draken. I don't think we're gonna get it, but
I can imagine him having a good life. I can't imagine that life not with the Dragon Temple tattoo.
Listen, he grows his hair out and it covers the dragon tattoo.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
I don't know, something like that, right? Like just something to give him a little bit. He kind of got after he like just nearly like escaped death. He kind of got out of the gang life after like school or that kind of thing, and he just went on to be a regular working guy. Who knows? That's what I hope for Draken, though.
Yeah, I don't know if his personality jives with that.
And he just goes back to Ken. No more Draken, just Ken, just Ken-kun. But that was the episode. It was very entertaining still. I'm excited for the end of this little mini arc. If you guys have any thoughts, theories, opinions, anything like that, leave them down below. Obviously, this is still an ongoing manga series, I believe, as well.
I believe it is, yeah.
So we got plenty of time with it. I hope that once this season ends, we don't know how long the season is.
I want to say it's a 24-episode series.
I wouldn't mind it. Even if it is, though, I think that it would probably separate it again, like what a lot of shows have been doing.
Yeah, 2 separate cores as opposed to the consecutive.
Yeah, that seems to be what a lot of things are doing. That's like the in thing right now in anime, so I wouldn't be too surprised if they go that way.
Yeah.
Either way, though, we'll be here to watch it. Let us know down below if you're a fan of Tokyo Revengers and if you're watching it with us, and that way we can just always make sure that we're talking about it. Okay, next up on the list is one that aired this morning, which is Higehiro, episode number 8.
Summer Festival.
Summer Festival, indeed. So it is. We knew that from last week's preview. Same thing. Like this episode was very, very chill, very emotional, pretty relaxing. I think the big thing wasn't until like the end.
Yeah. There's one thing a little early on that caught my attention, but most of it was the end.
Yeah. So for the most part, I'll give you the quick synopsis. I'm sure you've seen it anyways. But it's about now that Sayu knows that her brother's after her. She. It's kind of funny. Like you'd think that she would just like stay home and hide. It's the most efficient way. But either way, like she gets a message from what's his name, Yoshida, saying, I'll be home late. So she goes out to get some stuff for food. She runs into Mishima, I believe her name is.
That sounds right. Yeah.
The coworker who also loves the main character, and she's like, hey, like, what's going on? She's like talking about how she's making dinner, and then she sees like Sayu like start hiding like behind her. And she's like, oh, like people are looking for me. And she's like, okay, like come with me, like let's go hide.
Yeah.
So they go to like a karaoke thing, and then Sayu's like, I don't know how to like tell him this, and Mishima's like, okay, well, like here, how about this? And she like types out her message. She's like, hey, like we're at karaoke. I ran into Sayu. We're at karaoke. Like come stop by. And then they're having a couple discussions there where, again, it's just like the classic of like Yoshida trying to, or like Mishima trying to be like, hey, like Sayu, like, what do you feel about him? Like, do you love him kind of situation? Like, do you want to go back home? All this kind of stuff. Just trying to get her, like, trying to get her emotions out of her, explain it, like put it into words instead of just like keeping it locked inside.
Yeah, fishing to get that gate open. So
yeah, and we see her mention being like, hey, did you never do karaoke in school? And she's like, no, I never did karaoke with my friends in school. And Mishima kind of just like blowing by that, being like, oh, I guess like karaoke must not be cool for young people anymore. When more realistically, it's probably just that she didn't really have friends. I feel like we're going to get the reveal where she had like the one friend and something happened to her.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about that more later when we get towards the end of the episode. But for the most part, they're just kind of chilling. They're kind of, open up a little bit before Yoshida eventually does show up. And as he shows up, he greets Sayu and it's like, hey, are you done here? And she's like, yeah, I'm done. He's like, okay, let's go home. And they start having some friendly discussions. And then we see a nice face from Mishima, kind of being like, a little upset kind of thing. And then he's like, hey, like, do you want to come back for dinner? And she's like, no, you guys go do dinner. And he's like, okay, like, you let me pay for this. And she's like, no paying. She's like, you're doing it again. You're trying to help because you want to help instead of just like thinking like reading the room kind of situation. And he's like, okay, you're right. He's like, how about instead I'll pay you back by going to see a movie with you sometime. And she's like, yeah, that sounds nice. And he leaves, and then she just breaks down.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, he never looks at me like that kind of thing. He's like, I love him too. Just having a little breakdown in the room. Good for you. You don't deserve anyone. And then
Jesus.
Just kidding. And then we just skip on. Where do we skip on to? Does it go right back to their? I think it goes right back to them walking, and they see a flyer for the festival the next day. And he's like, hey, do you want to go to the festival? And she's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, I do want to go to the festival. I think even the one thing I didn't say that we were kind of thinking is while she was talking with like the Mishima girl, she even mentioned, she's like, hey, like if people are looking for you, like isn't it best just to not go outside? Like why are you going out to get groceries right now? And she's like, well, I'm in charge of the chores. That's why I get to live there. And even Mishima's like, listen, he's not going to care if you don't do it. He's not going to die if you don't do the chores. Like this is more like you not getting caught is more important.
Yeah, she specifically says like you two are dependent on each other at this point.
Yeah, and
so
but even like she's like, oh, it's like, well, I have to do the chores. She's like, I have to.
Well, I mean, he can do the shopping and you can do the chores.
And same thing, even like going out to the festival is a risk in itself, right? Like he might think to look for you at the festival while everyone else is out there. I mean, probably harder to spot when there's tons of people around. True. But in general, right? It's not like she's actively trying to hide from this. She doesn't want to go home, from what we can tell.
Yeah.
And obviously we can also tell that Yoshi doesn't want her to go home, but he's not willing to say it because he wants what's best for her.
Yeah, I'm starting to worry Yoshida's catching feelings.
Yeah, this episode was a lot more relationship than father-daughter.
Yeah.
Which I still think I'm okay with the relationship as long as they do a time gap where she gets to grow as a person first.
I don't think they will.
I hope they will. Like I'm hoping that she does go home to deal with her issues at some point. I don't think it's going to be quite yet. We have to learn what her issues are, which if you saw the next time, the preview.
Yeah, we're going to get that next time.
We're getting the next time. We're getting the back. I think it's literally called, the next episode is called Past.
Yeah.
And the image we get is her sitting at the classic anime protagonist seat. Back left of the classroom.
Yeah, grayscale on everything except for her. And
yeah, so we're going to get that next episode. I don't think she's going to be quite ready to go back yet, but I'm still hoping that if they're going to do the relationship thing, that's fine. The age difference matters now, but the age difference doesn't matter when they're all adults. Like when she's over the age of 18 and that kind of stuff. Some people probably still don't like it. You're supposed to like take your age, divide it in half, and add 7 to it or some shit to figure out if the person's too young for you. There's a math equation for it.
That's a really specific math equation.
It's actually a thing. Like, so if you're trying to figure, so you basically take your age, you divide it in half. So I'm 28. So to figure out if a girl's too young for me, I take my age, divide it in half, which is 14, and then you add 7 to it. So that's like 21 is like the lowest person I can date. Right. So that's like the math apparently that makes it acceptable. I don't know who came up with this science, who came up with this equation. But like to me, it's not the age is an issue. It's just that we mentioned this last week is that like she's too dependent. Like him, like her starting to date him now or them have a relationship now is too much like a father daughter situation, or even just like it's too much like a Stockholm situation, you know?
Yeah, she doesn't have any other choice, and she just kind of fell in love with the person she has to be with.
Yeah, so her returning to deal with her own issues at some point, getting past those, finishing school, maybe even doing a secondary school or working a job or something like that, and like becoming a better person and like growing as a human before they eventually date, that's fine. Like if they're right for each other, then they're right for each other no matter what their ages are, but not right now.
Yeah.
Which I'm hoping we're not going to still, but this was by far the most like romantic of the episodes.
Yeah.
And that might just be the classic anime festival. Then, you know, no one can hide from it. It's the classic romance episode in anime.
I mean, you are right. Yeah. Doesn't make me feel any better about it.
Yeah, because a lot of it's just like at the fireworks, they're having like, you know, emotional thoughts, stuff like that. You know, they're holding hands.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to get lost. And even at the one point he's thinking about like not wanting her to go. He's like, you know, and then he looks down and she's like gone. He like panics. Yeah. He like freaks out. She comes back. She's like, oh, I told you I was going to the trash. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. And then she even asks him, she's like, did you like freak out when you thought I was gone? He's like, yeah.
At least he was honest.
And she literally, and then after the fireworks, she literally asked him, she's like, do you like not want me to go home? Or like, do you think I should go home kind of thing? And he's like thinking about it. And it's very clear that he wants to say no.
Yeah.
But he like pats her on the head. He's like, yeah, I think you should go home. And she's like, yeah, I do too, even though she probably also doesn't want to.
Yeah.
But it's not like I think I should go home now. Right? It's not like she's like, okay, let's stop at this place when we go home. Like, you know, it's not like a, hey, I'm going to leave now. It's still like, I'm going to go home eventually. I'm going to leave when I'm ready kind of situation. Because Yoshida still doesn't know at this point that there's like a ticking clock here that's pretty soon going to make her have to go.
Yeah, if he knew the brother was looking for her, he probably wouldn't have wanted to go to the festival.
Probably not. And then the next scene is literally someone ringing the doorbell, and you know he gets up to answer it, and then he answers it, and he's like, I'm this Osanai or whatever like that. And he's like, Osanai, and he like recognized the name, and then he's like, yeah, I'm Sayu's brother, and then he's like, oh fuck, and then he looks and she's behind him, and she's like, oh fuck,
yeah,
and that's where we end off. I think my predictions for the next episode is that we're gonna have the brother come in. He's gonna meet Yoshida. He's gonna be talking to him, and we're gonna learn about Sayu's past, either from her, or maybe she's gonna leave or something like that, and the brother's gonna tell.
Yeah, step outside while they have a discussion. And...
Yeah, or she like goes to work or something like that. He's like, all right, let me spend the day with him. I want to see like where you've been living, kind of situation before we go home. And then like he explains to like Yoshida the story of her the background kind of thing. And then there's the possibility to me that either the brother is like a good guy, and he decides that like, okay, like she's fine here for now. Like this might be the best place for her for now. I'll just tell my parents I couldn't find her kind of thing. Or he's not going to be a good guy, or at least he's going to be like, hey, like this is a weird situation. I'm still to take my sister home.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know if we're getting close enough that he's actually going to take her home yet. I'm not sure if that's going to happen quite yet.
Yeah, because there's still enough of the show left. I don't think we're going to get to see her leave at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a little too early for that too. I think at some point we definitely will, but that'll probably be close to like the episode before the finale, like the penultimate episode or whatever. But I think that it's very possible that like he tells the story, and that's where we see his like her flashbacks kind of thing, as like she's maybe thinking about it while she's somewhere else, and he's being told the story, so they're kind of matching up. Yeah. And then maybe the brother's a nice guy, and he decides like, hey, this is like I've checked on you. You seem like a good guy. You're not like a guy taking in my sister to bang her. Like you're a nice guy. Like maybe right now this is fine. And you know what? If my parents are getting me to look for her, I'll go home, say I couldn't find her for now.
Yeah.
He's like, but he'll be like, but I do have to take her home eventually. And he'll be like, yeah, I know. Just give her like a little bit longer. Like she's working on stuff. That's how I could see it going if I had to give a guess. It's possible, won't though. It's possible, but I was just an absolute dick. But it's possible that even like Yoshida won't learn about her backstory in this episode. It's just going to be in her mind, her thinking about it.
Yeah, she thinks about it, then she leaves. And
yeah, so we don't really know, but that'll be my guess anyways. We'll have to wait till next week to find out. Very emotional episode. Not tons to discuss. But yeah, very, very romantic episode in comparison to as many of the other ones. So I'd be interested in what you guys think about that. I know that there's a lot of debate even on the subreddit for this anime about people like what the outcome they want to be.
Yeah. Like at what point does it stop being creepy?
Yeah, well, when he takes his age, he divides it by 2 and adds 7, Jimmy. As I just told you, the equation.
I mean, not everyone knows the equation.
I guess. Wait, do we know his exact age? Can I equation this out? I'm going to say that
I think he's 29 to 30.
It's not going to work out then. The equation does not check out in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, eventually it'll... Like, if they wait long enough, it'll work out.
It'll never... No, because that's the equation makes it so it'll never work out for people who aren't the right age. Because every year he ages, so does she, so the numbers will never match up.
Yeah, but if you divide your number by 2, and it does work out.
At which age will that possibly work?
How far off is she right now? She's what, 16?
We assume she's 16. I don't know if they've completely confirmed her age. we don't know when her birthday is either. She could have turned 17 at some point. She just didn't celebrate.
I mean, I think anime likes to use this type of material around the age of 16. If he's 30, divide by half, so it'd be 22. So in theory, 12 years.
Not enough.
If he's 42 and divided by half,
21.
21, then it'd be 28. Okay, and then she'd be 28 at that point.
Yeah, but she has to be within 7 years of his age.
That's not the equation you gave.
I don't know. There's some sort of math to it, and I don't know if it'll ever check out for them. If you have to do this much research into it, you probably are on the wrong end of this conversation, anyways. But in general, I'm curious as to what you guys think. What outcome you guys would like from this. If you think that, you'd rather him get with Sayu, if you'd rather him get with Gojo, or if you'd rather him get with Mishima. If you're wrong,
I mean, I think there's a one question we have to ask before we can figure out which girl we want to end up with, and that's how the hell did the brother find out about him?
Probably just like asking around still. I don't think like we're gonna find out one specific character like ratted him out or anything like that.
Well, I mean, there's only technically 3 people who know that she's with him, and he came to the door with his name.
No, there's more than that. There's
4.
His coworker,
Oh,
like
5.
his male coworker friend, Gojo, Mishima, girl she works with, guy she works with.
Yeah.
And honestly, as much as I don't like the guy she works with, I don't actually think he would rat her out. As we've seen,
Yeah.
he has a weird sense of character and justice when it comes to the right times. I don't think her coworker is going to do it.
No. So that leaves Goto and Mishima.
Listen, if they sneak up and it's actually Goto and like she is the secret bitch the whole time, I'd be surprised. But
I mean, do you think Mishima might have done it during during her breakdown?
I don't think so, because like I don't think anyone did it. I'm sure it was just like asking around if they've seen this girl, and someone's like, "Oh, I've seen that girl walking with Yoshida-san," like one of the neighbors, because they're literally just like looking everywhere.
True.
Like from what we've seen, I don't think we're gonna get like a character ratted her out kind of situation.
But there'd be so much more drama if that happened.
I agree, there'd be so much more drama, but like I think the show's like sticking away from like some sketchy drama sometimes.
I mean, maybe the coworker turns out to be a dick and turned him in.
It's possible that her like female coworker might have done it, but not being like a specific bitch, but by accident or something. Or we've seen that she has family issues herself.
Yeah.
So there's something there that maybe her family actually knows their family, because she means her family is like a rich, successful family.
True.
And it looks like so is like Sayu's family.
True.
So you never know, but I think it's just going to be that they ask around. Like they're obviously looking everywhere. They're talking to people at random stores and stuff like that. So they might just have found a neighbor who's like, "Oh, I see her walking with him all the time."
Yeah, I was just curious about the timing. So
yeah, I mean, it was very fast, seeing as they were looking at the grocery store the day before, which is a grocery store she frequents all the time. They stopped at the store that she specifically works at. Like they seem to have a lot of side details to this. Like
Yeah,
they're looking
seem to
at
be
all the
honing
right
in,
places,
so.
but yeah, I don't know. Maybe she got a secret chip on her. Maybe when she got her vaccine, they chipped her, and that's how they found her. Yeah, keep out for the series on that. But in general, yeah, just let me know what you guys think. I'd be curious as to think who you think, in your own opinion, not who he will end up with, but who he should end up with out of the best girls we've been offered so far. If your answer is Mishima, you're wrong.
You really have a hate on for her, don't
yeah,
you?
leave that down below, and we'll be talking about that episode next week. So last up on the list is an anime that aired just today, which is To Your Eternity, episode number 7.
The Boy Who Wants to Change.
So we watched that right before we recorded this, so it's nice and fresh in the mind.
Yep.
I think again this was a very chill episode, right? It's like it's closer to like the first episode of this mini arc than the last one was. Last one he just got like Fushi and the older lady just got to the village, and we just met this character with like the weird chameleon mask. Yeah. This one was like introducing him.
Yeah, I think that was more of a bridge arc as opposed to the actual start to the arc.
Yeah, like this starts off with his name's Gugu. And his brother, right? They're poor. They're looking up at a mansion. They're like, "Hey, why can't we live in a mansion like that, brother?" And the brother's like, "Yo, one day we will. We're just gonna keep working hard. We're gonna save up our money, and we'll make it there." And he's like, "Yeah, that's a can-do attitude," and shows like they had a box they're saving all their money up in.
Yep.
Shows like Gugu's going out and he's doing some jobs. He's tilling some fields. He's working at some veggie shops, stuff like that. Like he's just running jobs to earn some money.
Yeah.
And then the one day he comes back, he sees his brother having a conversation with some guys, and the only thing we hear from the conversation is I think one of them asks him like, "Oh, tomorrow you have to win or something."
I think it was like, "I hope you win tomorrow."
He's like, "I hope you win tomorrow," and he's like, "Yeah, same." And then the Gugu goes to put his money in the box, and he mentions his brother. He's like, "Hey, some like money's missing," and his brother's like, "Oh, is it?" And then he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, like is it possible that like your friends, do they know the box?" And he's like, "Don't accuse my friends." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, like." That's weird though. And then the brother's just like, "Yeah, don't worry about it though. Like, what's a little bit of missing money? Like, let's just keep working hard." And he's like, yeah, good point. He's like, "But I'm gonna move the box up here now instead, so people can't find it." And the brother's like, "Yeah, good call." and then the next day, he goes out and he finds a cool dog, and he returns the lost dog to the owner, a nice girl he thinks is very cute, and she gives him a ring, and she's like, hey, like take this ring, like you'll never have to sell vegetables again with the money you'll make from like selling this ring, and he's like, dope. So he returns home to his brother, and he's like, oh brother, I had like a good day today, and his brother's gone.
Yeah.
He sees the box where the money normally is just laying on the ground. He opens it up, and there's no money in there. There's just a note of his brother being like, later. He's like, I'm gone to do stuff.
Yeah, something. What did it say? Something like, in this world there's something called fate, and I'm gonna go fight against it, or something like that.
Yeah, I think from the context we get later, his brother thinks that he's like out to go make his fortune, that kind of stuff, and he'll return at some point. They'll live in like the mansion. Yeah,
but that could just be a kid kind of denying reality.
Yeah, like we see him clearly upset about it. Like as soon as it happens, he like throws the box in the note, and like it's very possible. We haven't got the context yet to like what his friends were talking about when they said, "I hope you win tomorrow."
Yeah,
our two guesses are either A, Fight Club, or B, like gambling maybe. So he's trying to make his fate via gambling. Like,
yeah, I mean, the only thing about like I was really consigned to the Fight Club theory until I realized like he probably would have been marked up if he'd been fighting.
That's what I was thinking too. But even like we haven't seen any specific area of gambling or anything like that in the world, so it's hard to predict. But they wouldn't have added that part in unless it's important. And I think we're gonna see the outcome of whatever that is when we're finishing this character story. Because we kind of learned the main story is about like Fushi's journey, but he meets people along the way and what becomes them and stuff like that. So that's kind of important.
Yeah, it's kind of him learning from someone else's journey. So
yeah, but the big part of that is the brother continues working, and then one day he sees a guy driving by with a bunch of logs, and he's just like, hey, like think about what would happen if I just stepped in front of that truck.
Yeah,
the thought we all get every now and then when you have to go to work one day. You're like, what if I just stepped in front of this bus real fast? I wouldn't have to go to work then. And he's like, no, I'm just kidding. And then as he goes by, a log flies off and almost crushes him.
Yeah.
And it lands and it gets stopped by like a little twig. And then, the
like
guy,
a little dead bush.
Yeah, the guy goes to get the log back on. He's like, it's too heavy. I'm going to go get help. He's like, hey, can you wash this log for me? And he's like, okay.
He's like a little kid. He's like, yeah, sure. I can stop your log going anywhere. Like,
yeah. But as soon as the guy leaves, the one twig holding the log up breaks.
Yeah.
And then the log goes tumbling down. And then he runs and he sees that there's like a girl who's going to go get absolutely fucked by this log. So he runs. He tries to yell at her. She's not really paying attention. And then he jumps. He pushes her out of the way. And then we see him get hit in the head by the log. So he's in air and it hits him in the head, which is like passes him out. And then he lands, and then the log lands on him. So I think from the next scene we see, it's dark for him, and he's just hearing all these people worry about the girl. They're like, we have to get her like help. We have to take her back to the mansion, like all this kind of shit. Like, and no one even notices like he's even there.
Yeah, he's just on the beach below.
He's
on
literally
the rocks.
Yeah, it's literally just a shot of his body and then his head crushed by a log. Now we think that some of the rocks around him like stopped all the log.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it completely crushed his head. It looks like it just
his head
crushed
wasn't
most
smothered.
of it?
It wasn't like smashed to smithereens. It looks like just like he lost like his nose and a lot of facial features and stuff like that.
Like they talk about how his eye, I think it was his nose and his mouth in particular, are messed up. So
yeah, so he gets found by the brewer guy we saw from last episode, the old boyfriend of the lady.
Yep.
And, he takes him back, and then the kid wakes up and he goes and looks in the mirror, and he's like, my face is fucked. He's like, I'm screwed. And then we see that the guy has like some sort of like masks and stuff around, and he makes him his cool little iguana mask or whatever, his chameleon mask.
Yeah, I don't know if he made it. I think it was like just sitting on the shelf. He just kind of picked it up. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, he made it at some point. The kid puts it on, and then after that, we get right back to the modern timeline with Fushi and the girl and the old lady coming in. And we quickly learned this was only 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So it's only been 3 months, so the kid's still relatively new. Basically, it's just like they reveal to Gugu and the older man like what Fushi is, who he is, that kind of thing, and they're impressed, but they don't really know anything about it.
Yeah, like she brought him there specifically because she called him an intellectual. Mm-hmm. But he's just like, yeah, this is beyond me.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know about this. He's like, this is weird even for me. And most of the episode from there is just like Gugu taking Fushi under his wing,
Yeah.
He's slowly taking him around. He's teaching him some stuff. He's teaching him how, like, what they have to do. He's like, when we wake up, we clean. After that, we cook. After that, we go and we work in the shop or whatever. We till the fields, and then we work in the shop. And
morning in the field, afternoon in the shop. So
so it's just him, like, being, like, kind of, like, bonding with Fushi a little bit. He's like, I like this guy. And a lot of it, we know he's trying to fill in, like, the place of his brother, right? His, like, brother who left. Because he hasn't really had anything. So it's only been 3 months since like the injury and everything. But I'm sure the old man isn't the best company or like a good friend. He
doesn't even refer to him by name. He just calls him Booze Man.
Yeah. So I think he's trying to like Fushi's kind of filling in the spot of his brother for him at this moment, and he's trying to show him the ropes and that kind of stuff. He's still teaching him some more words. Like he's teaching him what alcohol is and all this kind of stuff. He takes him for the bath, which we see like when he's pulling off Fushi's clothes and it's like part of his body's ripping off, which makes sense to us because we're like, wait a minute, yeah. When Fushi transforms, he transforms and has the clothes on him. So
so that means he just kind of separated into multiple entities.
Yeah, the clothes are part of him. So that's interesting. I guess it's the same as like whatever state they were in when they died. That's why he has the injury and stuff. So he'll always have that clothes on. But he can take those clothes off. But if he takes those clothes off and he transforms into like the dog and then transforms back, he should have the old clothes on still.
Yeah, unless he loses the clothes if they're taken off. Like it's all like.
I don't think so though, because he's had those clothes off before. When they first went to Yanome, they changed his into more traditional attire there.
Oh right.
So I think no matter what, when he transforms out of something and then back, he's gonna have his old clothes on. So I wouldn't spend too much money buying him a new set of outfits. Is what I'm saying here.
Well, what you need is you need to get him a new set of outfits, then put him on someone, then kill them, and then he just turns into that every time.
Exactly, a nice stylish set. Exactly. But after that, we see the two of them working in the shop. And as they're working in the shop, who should enter but the cute little girl that that Gugu has a little crush on.
Yeah.
You know, she comes in, she asks some questions about like what stuff she should buy. She mentions the fact that she got like a wound like 3 months ago and it still hasn't like healed. And you know, it's like it's ugly, so she can't even show anyone kind of thing. I have a feeling it's gonna be like a fucking cut, you know, and
it's gonna be like just like a scar.
Yeah, she's gonna be like dramatic when he like literally has a huge flesh wound and he has to like wear a mask from saving her.
He's just gonna go. This happened to me when you got that. Just pop it off. Just like
I don't think normally I would say that she's supposed to be like a good character, but I don't think she's actually gonna turn out to be that good. I think she is gonna turn out to be very like spoiled brat kind of situation.
Oh, she definitely is. If not a little twisted.
Even earlier when we see like when she walks away after the ring thing, we see like the maid whoever's with her like scolding her and be like, that wasn't very nice, and she's like, what? She's like, it's true though, like implying that like, you know, you'll never have to like sell your veggies again, like calling him kind of like poor in a sense kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, even before that, the ring she gave him, it was like, oh, that was a ring your father gave you. And it's like, yeah, but he bought it knowing I don't like this color.
I don't like that color.
While she's wearing that color.
Yeah, I don't know. But as soon as she goes in, you know, Gugu's feeling this. She's talking to him a bunch. And at one point, you know, he's hitting it off with her. And at one point, she's like, oh, what's your name? And he's like, oh, my name's Gugu. And she's like, no, not yours. Like, what's his name? And she's like over at Fushi. And then so we see that she has like a little bit of a crush. She like asks if she can like, you know, take him out for a walk and that kind of stuff. And even Gugu's like, no, like you can't do that. He barely even knows how to take like his clothes off kind of situation. And I literally made a joke while we're watching this being like, oh, she'll teach him how to take his clothes off. And like, you know, because I don't know how old she's supposed to be in this, but I was like, that's obviously not going to happen in the episode. And then like 2 minutes later, she literally says it, but she follows it up with just kidding.
Yeah, but still, like she looks like she's like maybe 10.
Yeah, but we literally see Gugu getting like jealous at this. You know?
God, yeah.
He's like mad at Fushi in like a sense, but like Fushi doesn't know any better. He doesn't understand what's going on.
He does not give a single fuck about.
And then
this.
as Gugu has a conversation with like the booze man, he's basically talking. The booze man's just like, hey, you gotta like, you know, you gotta grow up to be a good guy, good man. You know, you gotta just like, I don't know, nut up or shut up. Like I don't know exactly what the lesson is here, but.
I mean, he was going on about booze does not nourish the soul or something like that. Like you need more than just to feel good.
Yeah.
So this is going to help you grow into a better person.
Yeah, so really all we see after that is Gugu goes outside to do some pull-ups and push-ups and stuff, and then Fushi jumps up to do it too, and he like kicks him off. He's like, no, he's like, this is my thing. And he kicks him off, and then we see like Gugu kind of being like, hey, like Fushi's like my brother. And the chick's like, oh, like your brother's like, yeah, like my younger brother. Because once again, kind of like how March treated him like a child. He's pretty childlike at this point. I mean, so.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much all we get. We get to see the next time on.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what happened on the next time on, to be honest.
Oh my god. Oh, they talk about Gugu finds out about the secret within his body.
Oh, yes.
Because earlier in the episode, they also talk about how his stomach's distended.
Yeah, when he wakes up after the accident, he's obviously his face is messed up, but he also has his like stomach's out. And then when you watch the next time, he talked about there's like a hidden secret inside of his body. And I'm pretty sure from the opening, we've seen him like spit fire. And in the thing, we see them put some sort of like funnel in his mouth.
It looked like a hose or a funnel or something
like
that.
So the theory right now is that he has like an alcohol barrel in his stomach that maybe this guy somehow is using like to keep him alive. I don't know how it's going to work.
I mean, it might be like as a disinfectant or something, like constantly flow through his system. Or...
Maybe, but that would make sense as to why his stomach is so, you know, engorged because there's something inside of it. Plus, like that'll kind of check out to how he can spit fire if he has some sort of alcohol coming up with like, I don't know exactly. Yeah. But at this point, as far as we know, he's a human. And we did hear that some people thought that the booze man was a little off. They even mentioned at one point, they're like, oh, did you hear that he finally made like a real monster? As if there were like hints about him trying before.
Yeah, well, even when we first meet him, it's when Gugu's selling vegetables, right?
Yeah.
He just rolls up with a board tied up as a backpack on him.
Yeah, and he's asking for like seeds or something. And even when Gugu first wakes up, there's a bunch of masks on the wall. There's a bunch of like knives and swords hanging above him.
Yeah.
So there's something going on with this man, which it looks like we're going to learn next episode.
Yeah, it looks like he performed some sort of impromptu surgery on him.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, if it was to save his life, that's good. We might find out maybe it wasn't. Maybe he's like a Shao Tucker kind of situation, like from FMA, and he's making some sort of weird experiments.
I mean, that would definitely be possible.
But I feel like it's very likely that he had to save the kid's life, and this is some sort of weird magic that makes no sense to us, or weird science that makes no sense to us.
It could even be like he saved his life. He's like, okay, I've saved your life. Now you're going to do me a favor.
He's like, yeah, I just saved your life. But what if you had an alcohol barrel in you?
I want to give you fire breath.
To me, that sounds like one of those situations of like putting the ship inside of a bottle. How do you get a barrel inside of a kid? Like,
I mean, with a big knife and a big cut.
I guess maybe, yeah. But I mean, we've seen Gugu with his shirt off the whole time. He's got no scars.
He's got bandages wrapped around the lower half of his stomach.
Oh, true. I thought that was just style. Oh, well.
I don't think he had it at the start of the episode.
Either way, we'll figure out next episode what's going on with him. I think we definitely still have more episodes here anyways. I think the next episode for that, we're going to see maybe the modern day outcome, whatever, with his brother possibly. And obviously, there's going to be the question of what's going to end up happening to him. Is he going to die? Is Fushi going to take over his body like he's done the last so many characters?
I mean, he probably will. He's probably going to be running around with the mask.
Or maybe this kid joins the crew. Maybe he actually leaves with Fushi and they...
Nobody's going to live.
Maybe he lives and he leaves with Fushi and he's like part of the traveling crew. It's possible. It could happen. If you have any theories about that, let us know.
You even saw Fushi wearing the mask at one point in this.
Yeah, I don't care. No, it's possible.
This kid could not have more death flags if he tried.
It's possible. This kid might be the first guy to live out of it and become one of Fushi's traveling crew members.
To be fair, the old woman already survived.
Yeah, for now. I wouldn't stick too strongly to that one. Old people are meant to die, so like she's gonna be gone soon, I think.
We literally saw this kid's skull get smashed by a log.
I mean, it's very possible still that the Yanome are still tracking him.
Oh yeah, he's gonna have to deal with that at some point.
So like it's possible that they show up at this town at some point, they, shoot the old lady in the face or something. Like there's a lot that could happen. I think the next episode, maybe 2 episodes, are still mainly going to be focused around like Gugu's story. I think the next one's going to be about the past experiments, being kind of like a freak, dealing with Fushi, maybe more with this little girl, before we get into more about his brother, where he went, what happened to him, if he's a shitty brother, if he's a good brother.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the brother thought he was doing a good thing and just screwed up. But
it's possible, or his brother's just an absolute ass, and he just took the money and he cares about himself. Either way, I could see either way. The show can go any way right now, so we will find out next week though when that airs. So stick around if you have any thoughts, theories, comments, anything like that. Leave them down below, and we will be talking about it next week when we have episode number 8. I think that is every episode we have for this week.
Yeah, that was everything.
So it was a good week overall. Did you have a favorite? Just as like a closing thought here.
Oh man,
what was the watch? What was the best watch this week?
I mean, I think my favorite one from the batch was either Tokyo Revengers or Kumoko. Kumoko's always high on my list, no matter what. I
don't know. I really like the Vivy episode too, though, with the fights.
I'm still having a hard time placing Vivy in my rankings.
Why? It's just difficult.
I love every episode of it. I just don't know how I compare it to other series because it's so different.
Yeah, it's never like the one I watch first. It's actually one of the ones I watched later. But that's not like a sign that it's bad. It's just that I don't know. Same thing. Like I have to be in like the right mood for it.
Yeah, you just want to savor it a little bit. So you don't want to watch it too late at night. You don't want to bang it.
Same thing. Like the 86 episode, I also like it was one of my favorite ones of the series, just for it being like purely like emotional and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like same thing. I didn't want to just watch that on like a happy day. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch that the next time. Like tonight, I'm just gonna stick to my happy anime.
Yeah, like 86, I always watch it. I always have like a light palate cleanser afterwards, so I can watch it before like bed or something. And I'm not constantly thinking about it.
Yeah, Tokyo Avengers is definitely good. Kumo Desu was good, just for a lot of like more story, like tying it all together when we get to whatever the outcome is between Potimas, Ariel, and like the Pontiff guy. Like whenever we get to whatever the fuck's going on with them, like all this shit's gonna be important. I don't know. Like Higehiro obviously today and both To Your Eternity this morning were both really, really good. Yeah. But, like I don't think they were too standout from the other ones.
Those are more build-up episodes right now.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't know. To Your Eternity is always entertaining to watch. It's got a banging opening.
Oh, it does.
It's like a really, really nice like journey kind of anime. What about any anime this week that you watched that isn't on our list that you liked?
I was kind of bad this week. I think the only other shows I've watched is I caught up a little bit on I've Been Killing Slimes for 300 Years.
Okay.
Which is meh.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what you expect. That's not going to be like a standout show that's amazing.
That's like I'm half asleep and I want to watch something. The other one is Iruma-kun.
Did you watch this week's?
I did.
Okay, quick discussion. I don't want Aruma-kun to go back, to be honest. I want him to stay this way. He's kind of a fucking badass.
You like what? Oh god, why is it Iramine or?
The thing is, when they show him in the last episode of the last season, and when they show him the beginning of this one, he seems like a dick, right?
Yeah.
He seems like he's like the asshole character. But when he goes to school, it's not like he's not like a dick. He's just like cool as fuck.
Yeah, he's just confident and doesn't care.
He's extremely confident. He's like just cool with how much power he has. It's like, but he's not like a dick to anyone. He didn't like start treating Alice like an absolute shit. Like, yeah, he got him to hold his bag and stuff like that.
Yeah, but Alice always asks to hold his
But yeah,
bag.
he's not like fuck off. Even when they're like, oh, should we like take care of this dude when like they run into the people in the hallway? He's like, no. Like he's learned his lesson, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like everyone's like, oh man, this kid's like cool now.
Yeah, he's
like,
even just like, yeah, you're okay, but next time you want to say something, say it to my face.
yeah, like I was expecting him just to come in to be absolutely evil. Instead, he's just like like he's kind of a dick, but he's also just tough as shit.
I mean, yeah, even when he's talking to the teachers, he's just like, he's legitimately bargaining with them.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm getting that classroom, and here's how it's gonna work.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping he'd like summon him, like.
I wanted him to flex so bad with that.
Because the one guy pops up, right? And he uses his summon when he's talking with Caligo, and Caligo's trying to like show how tough he is. He like has his big like lightning thing behind him, and he'd be like, "Oh, you think your summon's good?" And he just like, and then Caligo appears behind him.
It's like, Caligo, summon your summon to show how tough I am.
Like, I don't know. It was a very entertaining episode. I don't want him to go back. If you're watching Aruma-kun, leave us a comment down below about whether or not you like it, if you're liking the season, or if you think it took too long to get to the end of last season.
Yeah, I don't know why they did it that way. I know they just wanted to hook for the end of the first season, but...
Well, I think that they had to, because the whole reason this demon evil cycle thing has started was because the ring character, and they had to introduce him. I don't know why they had to do this whole thing first with the president and the...
I think this is how the source
what's his
material
name?
went.
Ronove.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Ronov, but it's a Ronove.
Yeah. So that it was all funny, but like I don't know necessarily if they needed that, but either way, it's been entertaining so far. Have you guys been watching it? Yeah. I don't think I've really watched. I watched a little bit of Castlevania because that aired this week, but I don't think
I
I've
still
watched.
have to catch up on the first season. So
in Ontario, at least this week, it has been super nice. Like we've had like days that were plus 30 here, which is insane. So I'm spending a lot of outside time.
Understandable.
Yeah, so I didn't watch as much anime. I wanted to start watching things like Odd Taxi and catch up on stuff like Nagatoro-san, and maybe this next week will be the good time.
Yeah, I really want to catch up on Shadow House too.
Yeah,
I've been really bad at that. Every time I go to watch, it's like I want to watch this, but I feel like something lighter right now.
Yeah, and that's just how it works sometimes. Like it's really easy for me to like go on and quickly flick on something like Iruma-kun because it's just like so light, and all my favorite part of the show is all the musical numbers. They're so freaking funny. Yeah, like whenever Claritas has like a musical with her family, I don't know. They're so catchy and hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, even the opening and the ending are technically musicals.
Mm-hmm. Like it's always good, but then like for me, it's like, ooh, I gotta go click on like Odd Taxi, which I think is gonna have some like big like. It's very interesting. It's like the classic like little animals, but I think it's gonna have a lot of like
it's gonna have a lot of
heavy plot lines. Yeah, like a lot of depth to some of these characters. I'm like, I'm not ready for that depth right now. I need something light. So. The right time will come to watch all those things and catch up. So as always, it's not going to be like the weekly question, but if you guys have any shows you definitely think we should watch now that we're on, episodes 6, 7, 8 kind of thing, let us know down below, of course. And as always, look out for that pinned comment. As we mentioned earlier on the episode, I'm going to ask a pinned comment today, and if you comment to it, then we'll read it out next week and we'll answer them. And other than that, guys, thanks for watching. And as always, if you got this far, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. All that kind of stuff. We hate asking for it, but it's kind of important. We want to hit that 1K by the end of the year. Yeah. We need that growth, and that way, it just makes it easier for us to get out better content for everybody.
True.
And that way, too, if you have anywhere you can share this, we mention all the time. We post most things on the subreddits. Some subreddits, though, we can only post every now and then. Some don't let us post at all. Yeah. So if you have any friends, or if you have any Discord channels you're in that or like the kind of similar community, or subreddits if you're a mod, anything like that, just it would be really appreciative if you guys can post that there.
Yeah, even just show it to your friends if they have any interest in anime and see what they think. So
yeah, exactly. Even if they don't watch any of these specific anime, you can tell them just to hop on, subscribe, and then eventually we'll probably talk about an anime they will watch.
True.
We're only posting once a week, so we shouldn't be flooding anybody's like box too much, which is kind of nice. Obviously, we mentioned it before. We'd love to put out other content other than just like the weekly podcast, maybe like reviews of certain season or like scripted content or stuff like that, like shorter videos. But I think we're gonna wait till we get past that 1,000 subs. Yeah. So the faster you guys help us get there, the quicker we'll get that content out. If you're a fan of that. And I think other than that, guys, we will be seeing you next week for episode number 38. As always, I've been Cam.
I've been Jimmy.
Take it easy, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Peace.